Honorable Cena. Oh, baby, it's fucking Christmas. Oh, Jesus.
That's a good shit right there.
Ding dong. It feels so manly. Hello humans and welcome to Audioface, episode 170. It is the award show!
The Audioface Award show!
It is awards. You know, I had to bring back the hello humans just for the award show, you know?
Might as well.
It's
for posterity.
Because corporate told us to do so.
Because, yeah, we got notice from the Hassan Piker network that we had to clean it up a little bit.
What are we on, the streamies or some shit now?
The Hassan Piker network, the brave Mujahideen 24/7. Anyways, this is the 4th annual Audioface Awards. The great thing about having the 4th annual anything is because you just automatically have prestige at that point.
All right, cool.
No one can tell you anything when you have 4
That's fine.
under your belt.
I'll allow it.
This is the only award show that matters. This is the only episode of this year where the ranking matters because we have to make some honest decisions about what are some of the...
We need to make some honorable C notes.
Yeah, we need to make some decisions about what are the best, worst, most memorable, least memorable kind of aspects of 2020 and the year of music. A year that we mostly probably want to forget.
Yeah, but the music was really good.
Music was really damn good, actually. So we're gonna have, if you're new to this, if you're an old head for this, because we've done 4 of these now, the way we generally go through this is we have a bunch of categories. We make a bunch of big ones, we make a bunch of little ones. We have them all sprinkled out through the show. Yes. We're going to talk out the nominations. Sometimes we'll make hard and fast decisions for reasons. Yes. Other times we may have like winner, runner-up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Otherwise, let's
jump in and out.
Let's start. Yeah.
Let's jump in. So first category we're gonna go is Best Album Ender.
Yes.
So this has been a theme of 2020, other than masks and, administrations that aren't doing their jobs, is albums with really good endings. So it's a thing that I really like of, maybe it's a song, maybe it's 2 songs together, whatever it is, an album that just ends well as it started, and it just brings it all into one beautiful masterpiece, which has happened on numerous occasions this crazy year.
Yeah.
So nominations are The Universal Want by Doves, end of their album, fantastic rock album. Universal Want and Forest House, those 2 are really good. You have Lord I Know by Kid Cudi.
The ending to Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon 3 Return, that was pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm. You have Said and Done by 21 Savage, ending of Savage Mode 2. I thought it was a perfect ending for that wild-ass album.
Produced by Metro Boomin as well. Shout out Metro Boomin. Incredible production at his prime.
Yes.
And definitely has an upward trajectory as well.
Yes. Sure by Fleet Foxes. Their album Ender, I think, is one of the best folk/indie album enders I've heard in a very long time. Really good, nice, chill song to bring it out. You have Guys by the 1975. I put that in there because of how of a clusterfuck of an album that was. I thought that was a really, really good ending track for it.
And as much as I have to keep you honest on 1975 things, I would agree. It was like a really nice way to like bring down the album at the end of like the completely wild ride that it was.
Yeah, and it was nice because it was a song about like being thankful for your bandmates and all this stuff and the journey it is of a musician. So that was pretty cool. There was 5 songs before that I'm like, you didn't need that there, but that's a different tangent. And then last one, we have After Hours and Until I Bleed Out by The Weeknd, which is one of the best album enders of the year. It's just ridiculously good as a combo 1-2, where just The Weeknd has impressed both of us like incredibly with his work this year, and I've listened to After Hours a lot.
Yeah, I was trying to find reasons to hate The Weeknd's album because some of his discography has been questionable at best at times, but it's also, this was just like kind of incredible. it was a really good job by The Weeknd, and it makes picking the album ender really hard. Sean, you've given a lot of thought to this, I know. What do you say for this?
It's between two, but I want to give it to Lord I Know by Kid Cudi, which is interesting because I've never been a big fan of Kid Cudi's music. Like, it's okay to me, but I thought like the last half of his album was fantastic, and Lord I Know is one of my it is a perfect album ender for it. It's like that my favorite blend of like old school rap hip hop / new school rap hip hop / a tiny bit of trap in there. So it's like a combination of all the things that a lot of people are getting done wrong, but doing it all in the right ways. And as an album ender is really, really good. And that's one of my favorite return to forms of the year. It's just, wow. I was genuinely surprised by that. So
that's really
I
fair.
think it's good.
I think what makes this category really hard is because I think a lot of these are like, have their pros, have their cons, but like they all even out pretty well. Like it's like TF2 when it was really well balanced, like in the middle of its cycle. Like when all the classes were really even. You couldn't like steamroll with just like a team of heavies. But I think my one inclination is to like shout out Guys by the 1975 because while I do think that album was chaotic and all over the place, I think that was a really good album ender and it's a really like heartwarming kind of thing. But I am gonna go with Lord I Know. I think I'll give you as a best album ender, but I would say the runner-up might be After Hours Till I Bleed Out by The Weeknd.
Fair,
because it's just
it's fair. It's really
damn
good.
Nice.
It's really, really good. Yeah, that's good. That's good with me.
Next choice is
one of my favorite categories of the year.
One of the Audioface. So we do a lot of like very standard awards that are ones that kind of make sense, and then there are ones that are just kind of Audioface Real One awards, like the Worst Music on Flat Scorched Earth, Nuked Hawaii, No Quid-Pro-Quo, Bleach Injection 2020. We've been naming this award for the past 4 years and just increasing onto the title like it's a German word for like beef legislation and like
or for egg clacker.
And it's
beef legislation. Still one of my favorite German words.
That's a deep cut.
This long.
Yeah, Bleach Injection 2020 has been added for Honorable Donald Trump, Mr. 2000 himself, but more on #NoPolitics. and for longevity, we won't go into that. But these are the worst songs we heard of the year.
They're fucking awful, to say the least.
Yeah, we have Pain 1993 by Drake featuring Playboi Carti.
Has the middle part, I literally had to pause it and stop and be like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I'm done. I don't want to, but I had to. And Playboi Carti's part was one of the worst things I've heard in a very, very long time.
Yeah. At the time of recording this, Playboi Carti, we haven't heard Playboi Carti's apparently Christmas album that he's dropping in 2020, but that's outside of the qualification for this year, so we might be talking about that in 2021.
We could easily. Yes.
Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. Anyways, other nominees for this category: High School Reunion, Prom by St. John and Lil Uzi Vert. We're getting torn up in the YouTube comments right now for calling out St. John for being an industry plant and being a horrible
Everybody thinks that the album is like good. I'm like, you guys are stupid and you're wrong. Whoever thinks the album is good, it is horrendous. All of it is horrendous. Like, he made one song that then got remixed, completely overdubbed where you can't understand it, and then blew up. Blew the fuck up. The album's horrible.
People are TikToking Gorgeous a lot, which is like kind of ableist low key if you read into the lyrics, and like it's just kind of not really a great thing. It's kind of like one of those DJ Khaled that has a bunch of celebrities on it, so it's a clusterfuck. We have Riding Strikers, and honestly most of Future's album High Off Life.
Because it is the same song for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over and over again. So that gets worse than you for not being creative.
And we have Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders by AWOL Nation. Another sad, whimpering queef coming out of the early 2013's Psyche.
Oh my god. There was a song on there, Half Italian, where the lead singer's legitimately just yelling over and over again, just going at it. And I'm like, dude, incels, man. This is horrible.
Yeah.
What do you think is the worst music on Flat Scorched Earth, Nuked Hawaii, No Quid-Pro-Quo, Bleach Injection 2020?
You know what? I think honestly on Audioface we are very open-minded.
We are.
But we have to lay down the law at a certain point. And now is as good as time as any to double down. And say that High School Reunion.
Yeah, baby.
St. John Lowe is
the worst shit
of the year.
Is so
and again,
bad.
Painting 1983, I really want to destroy.
That's runner up.
But like it's again, Drake is circling the barrels here.
So here's the part with Pain 1983. The first like minute where Drake is just being sad boy because he's like, I'm upset and I'm in pain, and then Playboy
fits in with the rest of the album.
Exactly, it's okay, and then Playboy Cardi's part just like derails that train and gets nuked while cows go upside down out of the cow farm that are in that train.
Yeah,
but the High School Reunion prom is awful.
Yeah,
it is horrendous.
AWOL Nation, believe me, I'd take any chance I can get to slug at AWOL Nation.
It's not worse. It's not worse than St. John's.
It's absolutely not the worst, and we have to also double down on the fact that a lot of trap was really garbage this year and in years past, and so I think the worst should represent that.
100%.
So worst is High School Reunion.
Yep.
Next is Best Indie Album, and now this is definitely one of the hardest categories we had this year. This is going to be a conversation and a half. We have Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple, Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers, Shores by Fleet Foxes, Fake It Flowers by Bigotry, and The Ascension by Sufjan Stevens. I'm gonna go backwards to the top, not in any particular reason, but just because.
So The Ascension was interesting for me from Sufjan Stevens. The first listen, I did not like it that much at the beginning because first off, I had no idea what to expect from him. I wasn't quite familiar with his music and stuff. But when I started listening to the song Video Game a little bit more throughout the year, and then I got really dove into the album later on, I was like, oh my god, this is a masterpiece. It's very, very eclectic, and there's a lot of different sounds in there. It took me a long time to get used to and appreciate it. Now, since it was released in late September or so, yeah.
Yeah,
I've listened to it a lot. There's gorgeous songs.
There's absolutely beautiful songs like Ativan, this like mental health kind of angle song to it. Gilgamesh, Death Star. I think Lamentations is a really cool, like almost like Kid A experimental kind of song. Like
the Ascension, it's self-titled. It's fantastic as well.
If we had any complaints about it, it was just like really a lot of overwhelming sounds.
And it's long. It's an hour close to an hour and a half.
Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah,
it is long in that regard. That was my other gripe, but there's a lot in here that is amazing. And for indie this year is on a tear of doing so much good because there's a lot of folk blend, there's a lot of rock blend, there's a lot of electronic blend. There's so much in indie that is going on that is really the scene that is doing the most, I feel like, of trying to push music as forward as it can go.
And we have to shout out our like conversation where you correctly predicted that like rock is dead unless indie comes around and changes it. And we had a lot of Biba Doobie, who you also called on Audioface as being like a really big star.
Like
because of TikTok, but also TikTok also blew up because of her own like And you called her a year and a half ago. Her release Fake It Flowers this year, phenomenal.
You can do it in between. You can make it indie or you can put it in rock category. Honestly, you could put it in either or because it's basically straight up. It's like an homage to 90s grunge, but pushing it a little bit forward. And for someone who's still a teenager, I believe, is
barely she's in her early 20s,
or she just turned 20, is ridiculously good. And for her first full LP too, she's only released little things here or there, kind of small EPs. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite rock things to come out of the year.
She's definitely released an album's worth of music, but goes to show there's a certain like work ethic that goes to creating music like this.
Like the Japanese House last year. Yeah,
that absolutely pays off. Really good thing. We did a bonus episode on Biba Doobie, so if this is just the first time you're hearing about her for some reason, go ahead and check that out, and as well as our review. Of course, we talk about all these albums way more detail in our reviews, for sure, but speaking of, for sure, Shores, that's a bad segue.
Sure.
Fleet Foxes. This was like a really kind of folky rock experience. This is one of the finest albums, capital A albums, I've heard this year, where it just like plays through very nicely.
It's our favorite thing is telling a story throughout an album. It's just going top to bottom. everything putting into it, you can put in a shuffle and everything still somehow flows, which
writing
is the rare
through emotions in a way that like makes
Exactly.
sense to transition through those emotions.
And Shore is ridiculously good. I've always liked Fleet Foxes a lot, but my thing with Fleet Foxes is they were almost like Tori and Moi, where they would make, you know, a 15 song album, 12 song album, and 9 of those songs would be ridiculously amazingly good, and 5 of those songs would be kind of out of place or a little bit too folky or a little bit too experimenty for it. But this album is literally top to bottom, everything goes to along. There is not one song out of place. There is nothing that needs to be done, and I've listened to this album like 1,000 times since it's come out. Really, really good work from them.
Yeah. Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers was quite an album. It did a really good job of setting you in the concept of a really kind of dark setting. There's aspects of dissociation and like decaying relationships and things like that. But it just keeps the tone and keeps the idea of it.
Yeah, I've had Kyoto on repeat a lot. That's a fantastic song up at the beginning of the album.
Yeah,
I like it because this is like the tried and true indie sound of like pushing that rock, bending genres into that, and doing much for like pushing it further as much as you want and everything. And there's so much in here that I really enjoy, and it's nice to see Phoebe Bridgers like going up and even going on to other people's stuff, like with Kid Cudi, which is a random feature. I'm like, what the hell? But showing how much good work she's done the year, and this album is amazing. I've heard it so many times throughout the year because it came out earlier, and it's just really, really good. I enjoy it. And last not least,
Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple. I mean, like, if rarely has any band, like maybe like since like the Arctic Monkeys, just sort of shown what you can really do with rock in this year so well, creating a piece that is really kind of bare bones with the instrumentals, but also plays with instrumentals and sounds that you wouldn't traditionally hear put together, creating its own sort of unique spin on things. Fiona Apple just does this really phenomenal solo, in most cases, like rendition with her vocals. It's just very powerful, very strong.
Yeah, it reminded me of like the Tranquility Base Hotel Casino style, like stripping back a lot of stuff, but still putting a lot of different layers onto it and simplifying everything to make something that pushes forward. And it's ridiculously good. A lot of people have this on like their top the albums, just albums in
album
general,
of the year
categories.
Like
a lot of people have it because of how good it is. And it is. It's grew on me. It is something that I normally wouldn't enjoy per se, but it's something that I've appreciated, and as someone who does a podcast now to do it, like we try to give everybody fair chances. This is one of the albums I'm really happy we have the podcast for, because I normally wouldn't have come across it as much. And it's really good.
Decision time.
Fuck. I don't want to, because all of these in their own right can be indie album of the year. It's just ridiculously good.
I can narrow it down to 3.
Okay. Who do you? Which 3?
Biba Doobie, Fleet Foxes, and Fiona Apple.
And Fiona Apple? That's fair.
No offense to the other 2.
They're fantastic.
But like we said, we just gave them a lot of praise. We have to narrow down.
Fuck.
Can you at least get rid of 1 for me? Or like narrow it down to 2?
It would be between Fleet Foxes and Fiona Apple by far to me, because they're the ones that are the most complete album works to me, top to bottom. Fair. And they do my favorite thing, is storytelling and experimenting and stuff. As good as B2BB's album is, I don't think it's as good as those other 2, but they're like literally neck and neck as much as you can.
I'm gonna slightly edge out and say Fiona Apple. Yep. I just think like as a one artist kind of like mostly show, kind of putting it together.
It's very good.
And just the instrumentation is so unique and so clever.
No one has really done that sound this year that much. Like you hear people trying to do it per se, but not doing it in the right way.
It's just her own shit.
But it's her, exactly. It's very unique and overall fantastic.
Fucking well done, Fiona Apple. Fetch the Bolt Cutters, well deserved for Best Indie Album, Audioface 2020.
Yes. And moving on to our next category, we have Best Electronic Album of 2020.
Year. Absolute whomper year.
Ridiculously good year for electronic music. One of our favorite forms of making music. It is something that we've been listening to since we were adolescents.
And I think especially in this
year
decade is showing to really influence a lot of music genres and doing a lot of interesting things within its own sort of house, so to speak.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of things that, like EDM has exploded. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. So this year was like a huge return to form of the entire genre to me, where it just so much different stuff has been put out this year, and it's very, very good.
More on that later.
More on that later. But going on to our nominations, we have Bubba by Kaytranada.
Kaytranada's Bubba came out in late 2019, but again,
our cutoff.
Cutoff after the Audioface Awards, before the Audioface Awards, after court packing, we have rules, but it was just a really groovy. Kaytranada is really good at creating these beats that sound kind of lo-fi and
yes,
indie,
exactly.
but could also really throw down a club. It's just like a really amazing sort of mix of dance hall, house, everything kind of coming together with a really good selection of artists who are going to be releasing great music in this year on their own right. You had Duran Bernard in here, you had Tinashe in here, Pharrell Williams, friend of the show, Kali Uchis. You had a bunch of different artists in here kind of really coming together, making this all a thing. You had Sir, and yeah, it's also going to be on there for one of those album covers that creeps out Sean, but it
100% it is
a really nice sounding tropical thing. It's one of those electronic albums that passes the, let's call it the Daft Punk test, where pretty much everyone I meet likes at least one song on this album.
Yeah, exactly. Next one we have Simulcast by Tycho. Tycho, one of my favorite electronic artists, where they make like so much good stuff that's come out in the 2010s onwards. Simulcast is fantastic because it blends their older sounds when they came out stuff with Epoch, where that's kind of blown up, and Dive and other stuff of their earlier music works, and bringing it a little bit more forward, because some of their stuff can be like almost elevator music where it's just kind of flatten, it can flatten out a bit to me, but this is their first work to me where it's just top to bottom. It's just fantastic, and it tells that story, still staying true to their sound, but pushing enough to where each song is interesting, and each song does enough to it where you're adding so many different moods and flavors to it. That is very, very good. And I've listened to this a lot, especially on like long bike rides and stuff early in the year. I have loved listening to this because this came out, I think, right before like COVID exploded, I believe.
February 28th, it was my birthday weekend. The last weekend, so to speak. And it is a really good album for just cruising on like rides and shit with friends. It's really nice, and I've enjoyed it. Bronson by Odessa and Golden Features. Now, you know, a lot of these like EDM like collabs can go like one of two ways.
Yeah, it can go out either amazingly or it can be horrendous.
This was a really excellent first go. Maybe it's their only go, who knows? But this was very good.
I hope not, because there's so much on here that is amazing, and I'm surprised at how much I genuinely like it.
Yeah, it puts like Golden Features, which is generally kind of like darker in a sense, with Odessa, which is kind of more like hypey and generally, and brings them down
both down to a level that is just unreal. It's actually reminding me a bit of Tycho, but Tycho with a little bit more experimentation is how I'd almost put it, because I thought when I saw them, like, okay, this is going to be horrible because I don't really like Odessa by itself that much, but with Golden Features, it's just ridiculously good.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums that shocked me. Like, it was one of those things where I wanted to hate it almost, but didn't.
Yeah.
You got Energy by Disclosure, our English duo.
Yeah.
This album is insanely good. We had like that little like foreplay tease of their little EP that dropped in February, but they ended up not using...
Completely cock-teased us.
And didn't use any of that on the album, just on the deluxe, like bottom half. But for the actual album, it's not there, and they had so much other music that came out. That was awesome, man.
It can truly like world-inspired sounds from everywhere. You had like Compton with Channel Trace. You had like English chav music with Slow Tie. You had the Fatoumata Diawara thing with her like beautiful voice and Mali.
My favorite is still My High. I have listened to My High so much. I love Aminé's part on there, and it's just like going back and forth. Just that is a club banger.
Senepa, Disclosure, Blake Bossy. I'm gonna like really love that song when the clubs actually start to bang again. But no, the album really start to finish, especially even that surprise Kehlani Sid joint birthday, just absolutely beautiful. Disclosure really did it and really delivered with their album and did something I didn't even suspect, and really surprised me.
Yeah, and this is coming from like, obviously we are big Disclosure fans, but we love how they always are like almost reinventing themselves with every album. They're changing their sound, pushing forward, doing new things with their stuff, and this is one of those things where like you can tell it's Disclosure, but it's so different than all their other works. Yeah. It's crazy.
Every work they've done, it's the 3-album thing, is very distinct from each other, and I like it that way, and I hope they continue on that path.
Yes.
Fourth album, Disclosure. I don't even want to, like, my body's not ready.
No, I'm not ready for that yet.
Year Zero by Chami. Chami has been a really good in the French DJ scene and been really good at like collaborating with other artists, doing these short little EPs in there. But rarely has a lot of DJs gone to the full like making an album route. And this one landed really well. He had a really nice
any song Todd Edwards is amazing. I love Damaged Hearts.
That's like Daft Punk shit.
It really is. It's something I've listened to a lot. I thought about putting it as an album ender, but I didn't like Faith before that. I thought it was okay. Yeah. But if it was someone they paired with something else, I thought it would have been better. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch.
If anything held us back, there were a couple of filler pieces in the album, and there were a couple of features that I could have gone without with. Yeah. And I'm even starting to like praise featuring Gunna a little bit more than the context of the album, but again, not that much of the song. But Chami is just one of the best, like kind of most underrated DJ producers in the game. And if you don't like him for Chami's album Year Zero, of course, there was Lady Gaga's album Chromatica, which he produced several major songs on that. So Future House is in the game here. But we also have Now Here Nowhere, a court-packing pick by Kolsch. And because this is court-pack, I listened to this kind of very late into the game. And I think I sensed Sean something along the lines of, holy shit, this is really good. Like, this is actually very good.
So Kolsch is an artist that I've been listening to for about a decade or so when he's been making music. Released stuff on SoundCloud. He had his whole, like, trifecta of albums going literally documenting his life, 1977, 1983, and we reviewed 1989. And 1989 was okay. I thought it was like there was some good stuff in there, whatever, but I'm like, oh, maybe he's not like, he's like lost his edge. I listened to some of his DJ sets that came out like right after that, and they were fantastic. So okay, let me see what happens when he releases a new album. And Now Here Nowhere is as an album, it brings me hope in electronic that House ain't dead, that some people can actually still make an album that isn't just a straight mixtape and stuff of house and electronic music that I grew up listening to, and there's so much good music in here. My favorite is in the middle. You have Traumfabrik, which means dream fabric.
Or dream
material. Those who don't speak my language. You got Fandango and Glypto, meine Sprache, and Glypto right after, and it's
shortly after.
Really, really good.
I like Sleeper Must Have Raken a little bit before then. It's like a really bloopy, almost like a Bosconian Galaga kind of vibe. I dig it.
It's cool because it's mixing so many sounds. You have like that tried and true like EDM-y sound in there, mixed with old school stuff from the 90s, mixed with new school. There's a lot of different things that he's playing with, and it's a good return to form and something that's just I absolutely love.
Yeah, sub-genre awesomeness right there, which makes electronic, all of our electronic picks now that we've gone through them, which is really fast because we did that really. Bubba by K-Tronada, Simulcast by Tycho, Bronson, Odessa and Golden Features, Energy by Disclosure, Year Zero by Chami, and Now Here Nowhere by Kolsch. I
don't know what to pick. I still don't know, and I hate this. I love it and I hate it at the same time.
I can narrow it down a little bit, but only a little bit.
All right.
And you know what? I'm gonna make a bold pick.
Oh, let's go. Let's have it.
Bubba by K-Tronada.
Woo! All right. I thought Bubba would have been my second pick because it's an album that I did not expect to like as much as I did.
Yes.
And it is something that I listened to a lot this year when we came onto Audioface like starting in January this year, and it was an album we reviewed, one of the first ones we did, and it was just really good. Something I listened to a lot.
It's out of the gates.
Sometimes you do this where you pick one, I pick one. I want to pick Now Here Nowhere by Kolsch because to me, top to bottom, like as an electronic music production, it ticks every box for me, like I want. And that's not just me being like a big fan of his work and stuff, it's just ridiculously good. But Bubba was a close second, followed by Bronson. I thought those are my three favorites. As much as I like Disclosure, it did not end well for me. I did not like the ending stuff. The one with Common I thought was okay. I wish they had put some of their stuff they put in the EP into the album. I thought then it would have been like hands down one of the album, like just blown everything out of the water with that. I was a little let down a tiny bit with that. The rest of the album, though, especially the first half, ridiculously good. Tycho's good, and Xiaomi is surprising good too, especially the ending of Xiaomi's.
Yeah, album. I just wish Xiaomi's was a little bit shorter, but like I'm so proud of the guy.
And there's one with Gunna I still don't like.
Yeah.
I can't get on board with it. But There you go.
There we go. So we're gonna I'll give you Now Here Nowhere as the winner, and Bubba by K-Tronada as the runner-up.
All right, that works. Cool.
All right. Mainstream Award.
Woo!
Best overplayed song. Now on Audioface we do things very differently, as you've seen by a lot of the picks we've had here.
Yes.
Probably not in many of the award shows, but we do like to give credit to the things that are kind of mainstream and around. So there was Savage by Megan Thee Stallion. And let's throw on the Beyonce.
Let's throw on the Beyonce. I would say, do you want to throw the Beyonce one too? Because Savage first blew up earlier in the year, and then the Beyonce remix afterwards. I was like, holy shit, this made the song even better. Like, how?
Yeah.
It's just...
we have WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. What does WAP mean? More on that later. And then we have Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
Woo! So those are songs that, so here's a little thing. We obviously don't listen to like mainstream radio or any of that shit because it's all hot garbage. But those are songs
also Zoomers, so like radio is like barely, like something we listen to on accident when we accidentally change the source on our computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, I obviously I like my MBE. I do like my Sirius XM now because I got that in my car. And I'm surprised at how good some of their stations are, honestly. And there's a lot of other things to get us in. But those are things that you've heard talked about the most. I've heard in my gym a lot. I've heard other stuff, but those are the 3 songs I've heard probably the most this year, like on outside sources other than my own personal listening. And they're actually good for mainstream songs, which is the big thing. A lot of stuff is now not getting overly redundant and poppy, but some of it's more trap heavy and some of it is really crazy and wild. But yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give it to WAP.
I kind of do, but Savage.
You want to do Savage?
I really do.
That's fine with me because the remix with Beyonce is...
Specifically the remix with Beyonce.
It is very good.
Next level.
It is... So there was a couple stuff of like, you had Thoughtina, I'm going to call it Thoughtina for the rest of my life because that song is horrendous. Thoughttiana, for those of you who don't know Thoughtina joke.
By Blueface.
By Blueface, baby. That came out last year. The remixes of that were some of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. And then I kind of just said, I don't want to listen to remixes ever again because it like killed me. But the remix of Savage made the song better, which is very rare. It's not, and it's Meg Thee Stallion Beyonce. It's like, it's really good for that. And I don't like Beyonce's music that much. So
I wouldn't have said it's overrated. Like, she's a great artist and performer what she does like for her time, but like as far as like music goes, like it's fine. Like it's fine.
She's better than Jay-Z, so.
But yeah, by far. So yeah, Savage. I would say WAP is a close second, but
and Blinding Lights is very good too. But more on that later.
Yeah. The Return to Form Award. This is one of the new awards, maybe one-year award. Maybe we'll continue it, but this is one Sean really wanted, and I think this really makes sense because we really want to kind of reward all the aspects of what makes Audioface, and one of those aspects are artists who maybe fall down on their path of greatness, but step back up and come back better than even before.
And that's something that is extremely rare and hard to do. Example, Coldplay last year. I think Coldplay's album Everyday Life last year was amazing. It was my pick for best alternative, and that's a prime example of return to form right there, of a band who sold out and then returns back to something great. But we'll go on to our nominations. So we have Foster the People for their EP, In the Darkest Night of Nights, Let the Birds Sing. Foster the People, a band I really like. They sold out heavy, and Lonely Sacred Hearts Club was, whatever the album was called, was horrendously terrible and made me almost hate indie music for about 2 years, which is saying something. But their EP was a complete 180, which is incredible. That never happens in music.
Very good.
Very, very good, and completely threw me off guard. And it was one of my picks that came out, because it literally just came out like 2 weeks ago of this recording in mid-December.
Yeah, it will be a Drop of the Year nomination.
Yes,
later in this podcast.
You have Gorillaz for Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times. I'm going to talk about this because Dan is barred from talking about Gorillaz for about 2 seconds. I really like Gorillaz. I do not like Humans that much, and the album was what was the other last album?
The Now Now.
The Now Now. Some of it I like, and some of it I thought was just Damon needs to like take some Xanax and sleep for about 3 years.
The point was like those two projects did not like
they're not coherent.
They did not hold the track that Demon Days and Plastic Beach had put Gorillaz on.
And the thing with me, I was expecting Song Machine to just go and be like, oh, okay, God, like they may be 3 songs in here I like, but whatever. The entire album is just ridiculously good, top to bottom, and it's just insane. And it has Aries, which is one of my favorite songs that I've repeated about 1,000 times. And okay, maybe Damon doesn't need Xanax. Maybe he just needs to keep making music until his heart croaks out or Jamie kills him. So who knows?
Whichever comes first, and honestly, that's a pretty strong like betting game.
I like those odds.
We have Kid Cudi for Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, and the Man on the Moon series had always been generally pretty good. A little bit, like there are some faults here.
Yeah, no, sure. The Man on the Moon 2 I thought Man on the Moon 1 was better than Man on the Moon 2, but Man on the Moon 3 is such a return to form of his old head Kid Cudi fans will like, new ones will like, and for him as a single artist, fantastic.
Because the issue with Kid Cudi was between Man on the Moon 2 and Man on the Moon 3, you had all these different random projects that showed Kid Cudi at his Passion Pain Demon Slain. You had all these different projects that showed Kid Cudi and what he could do. Yeah. But it was just all over the place, like an incubator. It just wasn't cohesive.
And him as a feature is very good, and I like him genuinely as a feature, but him as a solo work I didn't like that much. But his album was very good. Oh, yeah. Very, very good.
New one was incredible, like one for the ages. Yes. The Killers for Imploding the Mirage.
So the Killers are interesting. They're a band I've liked for a long time. Their last couple albums I did not like at all. We've reviewed Wonderful Wonderful, and I honestly thought that was pretty shit, to be honest. Their last good album to me was maybe like Sawdust era, where it's late early 2000s, because all the other stuff, Day and Age was okay, and then Battleborn, I thought that's when they started to go the Coldplay road of selling out and just like big arena hits and whatever. But Imploding the Mirage actually did something that is rare, where it is going to their like arena mainstream hits, but then throwing it back to their older sound and mixing the two, but pushing it forward. Kind of like what Coldplay did last year as well. Yeah. And it's something that I honestly did not expect. I wanted to go in here and just like rip Brandon Flowers' Mormon ass to shreds, but I didn't because it was really good. I was surprised at how much I like it. And like My Own Soul's Warning, the opening track, is a song that I've heard a lot. I almost wanted to put in the mainstream award, but I don't know if it was played like in other stuff in general. And it's something I heard a lot more like on indie channels and stuff, and it's actually very good for being a song that's on the radio too, and a lot of other stuff on the album. So a return to form to me is something that gives me hope, because I know they have some more music that should actually be coming out relatively soon. They've been working on stuff for a while now. So
I was a real big fan of Caution. I was surprised at how much I ended up liking it.
Yeah, that's a great track too.
And then we have Made of Rain by the Psychedelic Furs.
So I do listen to the fucking Psychedelic Furs, you pompous assholes who say I don't. They're one of my favorite 80s bands. They've made a lot of good stuff like Mirror Moves in 84. Swoo, a lot of good shit on there. But they have not made an album in 29 years. World Outside was the last one. So for a band to make an album 29 years later and make it as good that Made of Rain is insane. The only other band I know that could really do that was Slow Dive a couple years ago, and that was one of the albums too where I'm like, okay, maybe this is just something that's a one-hit thing of like a band comes back and something, but this is really good. For a band you can go like one or two ways too. You can go old head with the Flaming Lips did, where they just kind of flopped and died out into Old Wet Fart in the Wind with their album. Yeah. Or you can make Made of Rain, and it's very good for a return to form and literally a return of a band. So
yeah, I seem to remember we reviewed a artist or like a band that I don't remember exactly on top of mind. Oh, AC/DC.
Oh yeah, AC/DC, where it's just that's another Wet Fart in the Wind, where like they just basically resuscitated them and made music, and it's just sounded so bland and boring, and like maybe they ran out of money, or maybe they had some tax evasion shit in Australia, and be like, ooh, we need to pay the Aussies back for their Barbies, and like, oh no, we need to give them money. But Psychedelic Furs legitimately made a good album, and a lot of old heads like it, and a lot of new heads like it too. So bridges the two gaps together.
Decision time. What do you think? What do you think on this? Get your read.
Ooh, I can narrow it down. Foster the People, I can narrow it out. They're in the running for sure.
Okay.
Psychedelic Furs are in the running, and maybe Maybe Kid Cudi, those three. I think I can narrow it down to. Because it wasn't like I hated Gorillaz music before. The Killers were close, but as an album top to bottom, there was some filler in it, to be honest. Kid Cudi, some of the stuff I did not like with him generally, and I thought it was extremely bland. So that's why he's in the running. Foster People, you know how much I hated that album. It's been on nauseam. Now their EP is fantastic. Psychedelic Furs, 30-year gap nearly.
Let's give it to the Psychedelic Furs.
Yeah, I can give it to them.
Because that 30-year gap, and considering what we kind of got in the end, not necessarily perfect, but like very close to perfect, and a really good modern version of the stuff they were doing before.
And they didn't go Uncle Rocky.
Yeah.
Which is something that like...
A really big pitfall they could have fallen into.
A big pitfall you could go into, you know, you just step in the beat and whoop, and just fall down and, you know, do the doom of like, please stop making music, just help people make music. And yeah.
Yes. Best pop album.
This is actually interesting, a very interesting category this year.
This is the only music podcast that'll have best pop album organized in this fashion.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, Chromatica by Lady Gaga, Smile by Katy Perry, and YHLQM DLG by Bad Bunny.
So this is interesting with the pop category this year. So those 4 albums,
3.5 out of these 4 were very influenced by disco.
Yes, 100%. And that's been a theme of this year with pop, is using more electronic stuff, but for the better of their albums, to be fair. Making it more like dancey hits, more disco, more funk even. And this is something that Dan said like 2 years ago, where funk is back, baby. You're going to see it more often in music, and you are. You're seeing it way more in mainstream music. I mean, Lady Gaga's Chromatica, my God, that top to bottom is just a banger.
It was like the absolute perfect love child between electronic and disco.
Yes.
Past and present.
And even stuff where it's like songs like Ariana Grande, that stuff that I wanted to rip to shreds, were really good.
Shout out Chemi.
Yep. You have Dua Lipa's album that Future Nostalgia is like, to me, one of like the perfect representation of what pop music can be without being overly bland or overly in your face. It is that good, solid window of even like her live performances I watch, because I'm like, okay, let me see what she does if like she's just really boring, what she does with her album on stage. And it's actually quite good to see some of the stuff later this year that I've seen with her. And it's one of those that's very good. You have Smile by Katy Perry, which I think you could have almost put her on a return to form, but there was some stuff in here that I liked from her earlier work too, that is actually very good with Smile. It's more, you know, going into, going into like more of your feeling stuff, like explaining like past traumas and other stuff, and then actually making a good album out of it too. Yes. And then last but not least, YHLQMDLG. .wav by Bad Bunny is
subverting just a lot of expectations, I would say, which is the name of the idea of the album.
Yes.
Everything you think it is, but it also isn't.
Exactly.
It's Bill Clinton in an album.
Depends what your definition of is. That's my best Bill Clinton impression you'll get right there.
That's a damn good Bill Clinton. But anyways,
Bad Bunny is an artist that I want to hate with my like guts, but he makes good music. Like he does. He's the epitome of a Latin fuckboy. Or just I let it say like my woman's like, she's Latin, so she loves her Latin music and plays a lot of it, and I've gotten into it, and I'm like, shit, this is actually like, it's good. I hate to admit it. Yeah. And it's an album that I've listened to a lot, and there's so many like La Santa with Daddy Yankee and Bad Bunny. That's a song where I'm like, I want to hate this because I with all of my fiber in my being, but I'm like, I want to move, I want to go in. Yeah. It's actually getting me more into Latin music and more into reggaeton in general too, and exploring genres that like I wouldn't normally listen to and stuff too.
It's one of the great things about music. It's just
exactly, because now like gone on to a Sean Paul rampage of like, let's go into reggaeton, bitch.
Yes. I can name what I want. What I would say is my winner and runner-up.
You can go. I've had a lot of opinions.
My winner would be Future Nostalgia, and my runner-up would be Bad Bunny.
Yep, I think that's fantastic. As much as I love Lady Gaga's album, it's on the border of like an electronic album with a pop album. Like there's a lot you can kind of do with, but like, as like a pop album, I think Future Nostalgia is just like really good.
I'll put it like this: of all the ones that we did, Bad Bunny is just like the most like unique as a pop record because
Yes.
like it's Latin pop, but because it's Latin pop, it's borrowing from so many of these other genres because Latin music is just so unique in general.
Afrobeats, you got a lot.
But ultimately, pop music this year was who made the best like modern iteration of disco, and so that's ultimately what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge like Little Monster fan, Lady Gaga type person, but I had to give this to Dua Lipa in this case. It was just a really nice pop record, and also under 40 minutes. That's a really exactly what I want.
Exactly, that's what we want. You know, tip tidy, nothing too long, nothing too short.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next category, we have Best Neo-Pop Album.
Neo-pop, that is the genre formerly known as singer-songwriter album, formerly known as R&B, because we don't like that genre, because historically it has been used to basically categorize black people music in a certain way. It's basically very much just what pop music generally is. Especially this year, it's so iterative of a black people music that it's gone to the 70s and 60s of black people music, more or less. That being said, with this neo-pop sort of genre that we're doing, there was a lot that came out this year that was really interesting. You had Chilumbo by Jeannie Aiko. You had The Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Halle. You had After Hours by The Weeknd. It Is What It Is by Thundercat. And Durand by Durand Bernard. All interesting albums in their own
good.
right.
Yeah. I know Chilumbo with Janae Aiko is probably the one I listen to the most, other than After Hours. And it's something that going into, I didn't know what I kind of like was expecting one sound, but then got something that was so much more put together than I thought. You had BS featuring her that I listened to so much as a bar of flexing on my ex in my Model X. Like that's always gonna go hard. The Ungodly Hour with Chloe and Halle. Fantastic album by them too. They're a very young duo, and their sounds and stuff, they mixed like trap and B. They mixed a lot of different chill sounds and stuff together. That was just a fantastic top to bottom. We have After Hours by The Weeknd, which is one of the best albums of the year by far, and just ridiculously good. It Is What It Is by Thundercat. A really good album. Something that grew on me over time because Thundercat is something that I've been in a mood to listen to because he is quite eclectic with the sound and stuff, but as like a top to bottom work, I really enjoy it. I love the bass lines and stuff he's playing. His features on it were quite good as well, and everything was put together very well.
And Thundercat only recently has kind of like gotten to using his vocals more in his production because generally he's like a really eclectic, wild out there producer. But in doing this, it is just like an absolute banger of a track.
And then
banger of an album. I mean,
banger of an album.
As far as tracks go, I just got to shout out Black Quails, which is just like kind of this amazing, featuring Steve Lacy and Steve Arrington and Gambino.
And Gambino.
Is this amazing, almost like what is it? Black Messiah, that album. I forget who it was. By D'Angelo, that's the word it is. It's a really nice funk groove thing. And then Dragon Ball Do-Rag. I look kind of fly next to you, baby girl. Just absolutely amazing. Anyways, we...
And then you
have Durand by Durand Bernard, one of my court packing picks. It was a really kind of well put together R&B, quote unquote, kind of album. You had a lot of eclectic sounds in there. You had this really nice sort of mix of rapping and singing. It was very self-referential to like the lyrics and what was happening. Had a very sort of dark and sarcastic tone to it, while also being playful and very fun throughout the whole thing.
I really liked Curiosity on it. I know there's a song with K-Tune Volume that I liked as well. There's a lot on here that like was a court packing, something I had listened to recently, and I'm glad you put it in there because it's very, very good. One of my favorites. Definitely glad you put it in the list for best neo pop because it's an album that I think definitely deserves it.
And even to say the entire like neo pop genre, there are sounds in it where I'm like, okay, this sounds like it could have been a Gorillaz production, and then you have like K Tronada over here, so that's a different sound. Annie Wise, Ari Lennox, those provide different sort of sounds and things. You have things that sound more like R&B, and then things that sound more like rap, and then things that sound more like alternative, all in kind of one thing. It's really kind of incredible mix. But, of course, we've got to pick one, maybe two as like a runner-up here. I have a guess of what your
what would mine be?
Are you going to give it to The Weeknd?
Nope.
Wow, okay.
I'm going to give it to Janae Aiko. Chilumbo.
Wow.
It's the one I listen, like, after The Weeknd, it is the one I've listened to the most, and it is an album that I am very, very impressed by. Something that I'm not a big fan of a lot of features in albums, I tend not to be, but all of the features in her album are ridiculously good, and everything flows together, which is very hard to do, especially in that, like, neo-pop genre, because everybody kind of, usually features, they tug a little too much within their own sound a lot of times, and distract from from the other works, but it's so good. And I listen to BS on repeat so many times. Love that track, along with so many others.
I'll go with that, and I'm gonna put Durand by Durand Bernard as a runner-up, just because it has the production is so immaculate and how many different sounds it travels through. The self-referential humor in it and tone in it are just really nice. There's a touch to it, and in addition to the lyrics in it are very nice. So yeah, that was a really nice year for this genre. Maybe we'll call it neo-pop going forward. Maybe we'll change it around, but it's more representative of the genre than I think other things are, and it's for fuck's sake not R&B.
Yes, R&B. Moving on to the next category, we got the Don't Fucking Sleep Award for Best New Artist. And this is artists that maybe they just released their full LP, maybe there's someone we haven't talked about before or whatnot, but anyways, one that we have brought up to you guys that is just now kind of like blown up and up onto the scene of music.
Yeah.
There are three here that I think definitely deserve all the awards. Yep, first one, B2B. By, like, obviously we have gone ad nauseum of her, of just how amazing she is as a musician, starting up, kind of doing the bedroom pop stuff, going up, blowing up slowly through her record label along with the 1975 touring, and then her TikTok song that blew up now too, or feature I should say.
Yeah, coming to a full-length album that even though you recommended her in the previous years, this is the first full-length album this year, everything kind of coalesced, and it was an amazing, almost nominated for Best Indie Album this year. Just recently on this podcast, very good. Just an incredible work from an incredibly young artist and amazing where they can go from there. Dua Saleh, same kind of thing. They really kind of patented
the Darth Maul album cover.
Yes. Rosetta and a couple of other songs they really kind of blew up with. And yeah, they got a really nice sort of new grime rap sort of alternative thing. It's sort of like the, not quite Billie Eilish, but similar style of this English rap scene, let's say.
And then we have I Don't Know How, But They Found Me, which is a band that I recommended before and a band that we just reviewed not too long ago. That they've released their full LP this year. That was one of my favorite kind of alternative albums and stuff to come out, Razzmatazz. And as a new artist, it's just someone that I saw like opening up for a artist, and now they've like really come onto their own, because they only had a couple songs that blown up that were good, but like for a first LP, it's one of my favorite like opening LPs for a new artist this year. So it's very, very good work from the both of them, and it's only it's like whatchamacallit, Black Keys, where it's just drummer and senior guitarist / keyboardist. That's it, really just the two of them.
Goes really hard.
Goes really hard.
What do you want to do for this one?
Shit. I might have to do it to B2B because of how good of a year she's had.
I'm
honestly,
feeling it too.
Because that is an artist that I did, like, not to toot my own horn, I had talked about before a lot of stuff of you had to basically be in like the scene of like either the indie scene or with the 1975 label scene, like the around that group or whatnot of people to kind of know her before
Dirty Hit and Associates.
Dirty Hit and Associates, exactly. If you weren't around like the Dirty Hit crew or stuff, you wouldn't really know her that well until she started to blow up with the Coffee remix and other stuff. And now for her first LP, it's just insane, so good.
Yes.
Woo! Small chungus.
Yes. All right. Now we have the big boy. Song of the Year.
Woo! You know, we gotta tease y'all a little bit. You know, gotta sprinkle in a little like big floof here and there. You know,
and we've done a lot of really big album categories. We did pop, neo-pop, electronic. Those are some really things we care about. Indie as well. Yeah. But Song of the Year, that's one of the
one of those. Break a table on this bitch.
Bottom up. Gonna do bottom up this time. Sunblind by Fleet Foxes.
Woo!
30 seconds on that.
Best indie song this year.
Really?
Best indie song this year. Yes.
That's a
say
strong
something
phrasing.
for me. Best indie song this year. Top to bottom, ridiculously good.
It's a very beautiful sounding song, but there are a lot of very beautiful sounding songs in their own way on here.
Yes.
You also have Home by Caribou.
A song that I never thought would actually end up being mainstream-ish has now been mainstream-ish. One of my favorite Caribou tracks to come out. Beautiful song. The little I'm home part going along, just fantastic.
Yeah. It falls or like comes really nicely out from my other favorite song on the album, New Jade. It really fits, especially with that voice. But like, it's a good song on its own right.
Yes.
Blinding Lights by The Weeknders.
The Weeknders. As a song that has been exploded up and overplayed, it is in its own right the best all-around pop song you can make in 20 years.
Yeah, and I'd say the best all-around pop song you could make in 2020, especially given the more disco funk kind of move towards things. Very Michael Jackson-esque in a good way.
Yes.
The Kool-Aid man of pop songs, WAP.
WAP by Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion. There's so much.
This song just lit the world on fire.
It just broke Ben Shapiro's brain and just literally made debauchery mainstream, and I love that. Ratchetness, a whole thing of just something that's usually like shamed a little bit by society. Now I'll just bring it out and be like, fuck it, this is who we are, and going into it. And as a song itself is really catchy, it's actually pretty good, as wild and as raunchy as it is, and the music video to go along with it also goes hard.
It's very danceable, it's very like wicked, it's like it's a nice like capstone for Megan Thee Stallion's really amazing year. It's a nice teaser for what's gonna be a really nice year for Cardi B apparently in 2021. Nice all around.
Can't wait for that.
You go into Too Late by Washed Out, which is one of the most like beautiful songs I've heard this year. It sounded like turn of the century, sort of 2000s kind of pop alternative. But
it's it's like chill wave mixed with pop, mixed with alternative, mixed with indie, and just gorgeous from Washed Out. He has pumped out so much good music over the years, and his album, I did like his album. It started like by like the middle end of it. I thought it started to get a little blandish. So that's why I didn't nominate his album. But Too Late as a song is, holy shit, it's good.
Right.
So good.
Then you have Compensating by Eminem featuring Young Thug. I mean, if you've ever heard a pop song, this is a pop song.
This is a pop song.
It's got all the nice little fun notes. It's a couple like little bars here.
Music video is hilarious too.
Music video is very vivid and nice. The theme of the song's very poppy about getting over a relationship, but also overcompensating for those feelings itself. Really kind of amazing thing. Hold On by Little Dragon kind of flew out of the gates from being a really nice song.
Wish the rest of the album like stayed true to this. There was some other good stuff I liked with the album, but there's a lot of other stuff I'm like, it was kind of a little slowed down a bit. But Hold On is like, oh my God, like at the beginning of the year, she was just on repeat over and over again, just amazing stuff
It
from
reflected
them.
how good of a year 2020 could have been.
Exactly. It's like, because it was like in January, I was like, holy shit, music's already off on the hook, we're good. I'm like, we got some Caribou coming out later, got Tame Impala coming out later, let's get in it, and then,
This is going to be very great. Things were not great.
Things were not great. But Hold On was very great.
Yes. And then you have kind of the encapsulation of a lot of what we've been talking about, maybe less so WAP, but probably more like almost everything else. Tame Impala's Breathe Deeper. It wasn't released as a single or a surprise or anything like that, like anything else was. It was a surprise the first time you listened to the album, and it's got so much to offer.
I mean, the drum beat itself is one of my favorite things, and I actually... it was interesting seeing Kevin Parker, the main man of the lone individual of Tame Impala.
Yes.
He starts making songs with drum beats. And now when I heard him talk about that before, and I heard him interview, it makes sense of why I like Breathe Deeper so much, because the drum beat carries that entire song. There's so much guitar, there's keyboards, there's the gorgeous bass line in the background, and it's just, like, all in all, one of my favorite songs of the year, too, where it's just put together beautifully, and it encapsulates that album all in a whole, and it's just, so good.
It is just, I mean,
beautiful. When the album came out, we've had that shit on repeat in our car.
The sort of honky-tonk shit, like the drum thing that it does, like, in the middle of the thing, that's just really nice. It's really beautiful in particular. There's also the, thing that it does near the end where it's like a muffled dance beat.
Yeah, exactly. In the middle where like the keyboard going on.
Where it just completely transforms. It's just got so much to offer as a song and an album that is just like already record like breaking in its own right. There are some people who are like, yeah, Tame Impala's a little overrated. He's gone from the psychedelic rocks kind of thing.
You're high if you think he's overrated because i.e. Currents was already insanely good, and I actually like his latest album a little bit more than I did of Currents, which is saying something, and it's really good. As an artist, you don't want to stay in one genre. You want to push forward, dude, people.
I can't even really do the narrow down thing that I've been doing before.
I already know who this is going to. I already know what it is. By far, there's only one correct answer.
There's two contrasts to the like approaches that we just had.
Yes.
There's Mir like, I don't know if I can narrow it down. There's one where he's just like
aim and box in his dead body.
He's like, ready, aim, headshot. What are you going for?
Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. It is.
Really?
It has the Daft Punk effect of a song, which is really hard to do as an individual song. Almost everybody I have who has listened to the song likes it in one respect or so. People who are even big into music will have this on and they're like, oh, this is fine. People who hate The Weeknd will have the song be like, this song's good. Caesar, for example, hates The Weeknd. When this song came out as a single in late last year or so, he bumped it for me. He's like, Sean, you gotta listen to this right now. And I'm like, what the hell are you gonna play? The Weeknd. I'm like, what the flying fuck? He's like, I know he's a fuckboy who's seen, he just curses in a high voice and hates it. But then he's like, Blinding Lights is so good. I was like, yeah, this is so, yeah, top to bottom. Ridiculously good song.
I will do that. I want to put Compensating by Eminem featuring Young Thug as the runner-up.
Fine with me.
Because it's another similar thing where there's so many other people who have come up to me going like, this is amazing. Who the hell is Eminem?
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing you mentioned Eminem because it's someone that I actually mentioned on a music recommendations episode.
Yes, you did.
Here on Audioface Podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms.
Please rate us 5 stars.
Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We do very much love iPhone users. That's kind of a fact. And it's everyone who like showed the song was like, this is very playful. It's very fun. Like it's getting me into really obscure kind of rap music because Eminem is like a world of his own.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also like a really great performance by feature Young Thug doing this very versatile voice thing. He keeps it fairly classy for the song, considering all things considered. But it's a surprisingly deep thing for a pop song. Again, 2020 a little bit kind of lackluster here and there, but I think those are 2 very good songs of the year. I'm happy to give Blinding Lights a little bit of that edge because it did just have that kind of global permeation, I think.
Yeah, and for a song that has that big of global permeation, it's not utter shit.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Take it when we can get it.
Exactly.
Drop of the year. Drops are something that we have done on Audioface. It's kind of like a little bit shorter than an album, but a little bit longer than like an EP. So it tends to be between like 19 to 35 minutes, I would say.
Yeah.
These can be albums in their own right. They do really well because they tell their own story. They get in, get out. It's not too big of a deal. And we've got a really good selection here. We've got Dawn by MXMTune.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that one goes.
Mom Tune, Mam Tune, MXMTune. Yes.
Yeah. We have Drop 6 by Little Sims. Sugar by Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Megan Thee Stallion released Good News, which was an album, but Sugar was way shorter in a drop. So.
And
wow, it was
a bit better.
She would have been great with that for the rest of this year because that was savage, and then you got the Beyonce remix.
Yeah,
but
like Hit My Phone and a bunch and Captain Hook and some stuff in Sugar that was very good.
But now even Good News has done well in its own right. But after that we have Rosetta by Dua Saleh, who we also mentioned in the Don't Fucking Sleep Award for Best New Artist. How I'm Feeling Now by Charlie XCX outproved a lot of our expectations for what a quarantine album could be. Trust Fall by Incubus. Some of the best alternative music I've heard.
Holy shit, that's so good. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And Karma Comes Back. And the last one, In the Darkest of Nights, Let the Birds Sing by Foster the People.
Yep. That's a EP. That's the same thing. Really good like indie alternative that is a return to form of just banner after banner in a short little time. So I'm not gonna like dive into each one, just so we don't have to do an 18-hour podcast.
Let's have
we can narrow it down.
Good old-fashioned Audioface debates about this because I think we did a good job about talking about the songs as we gave out that list. I'll put it like this: Dawn by Momtune, Moomtune,
MXMTune,
Looney Tunes. Again, I think she needs a little bit more like cooking in the oven, let's say, with like, musically, where like her stuff kind of continues. Happy to nomination for the drop of the year, but this is a murder as well.
Yeah.
Trustfall by Incubus had a couple of really banger songs on there, but the thing about
it's just super short.
The thing about a drop is that like we'll put EPs in here, but drops are albums in their own right. Yeah. Basically, they're telling stories. They have full, complete works and ideas on their own.
Trustfall only has, because there's Trustfall side A and side B, and this is side B that came out this year because side A came out a little while ago. And this side B is only a couple songs, maybe 4 or 5 songs, but in the each song in their own right is some of Incubus's best work in a long time, and that's saying from someone who's like an Incubus old head too.
It's like a mini return to form. Almost.
Yeah, it is a mini return to form. By fall, but I wouldn't put it as. I don't know if I'd put it as drop of the year just because how short it is. Yeah, is my only issue. I think I know who I want to give it to, but
you want to do?
I want to do Sugar by Meg Thee Stallion.
I'm happy with
that. It came out at the very beginning of the year, right around like March, and there is Trap last year made me lose some hope with Trap, and I was like, God, okay, it got very repetitive and boring, and it was just kind of just drowning out and stuff. But for this, like, Meg Thee Stallion, because obviously she had Hot Girl Summer that came out last year, that was overplayed a bit, and I thought it was kind of bland with Nicki Minaj and stuff. Yeah. But Sugar on its own, of just hearing what she could do, was fantastic, and like hit my phone with Kalani. I thought Kalani's part was so good too, and we already have our issues with her as well. But top to bottom, such a good drop.
Yeah, I actually like Sugar more than Good News.
100% better than Good News.
Yeah, I think Good News is like, it's good to have Megan Thee Stallion have her full album come out.
Yeah, but now she needs to push the envelope a little bit further and change it because it could get a little monotone with her style.
Absolutely. Rosetta by Dua Saleh, also very great. Again, I think it's just they are very much starting out and continue to grow what they're doing. Very much like Dawn and Moon Tomb. But How I'm Feeling Now by Charlie XCX, I think if we're going to give a runner-up.
Yeah, it's definitely runner-up.
Because it was a quarantine album.
That surpassed
conceptually, I was going to
all expectations.
Yeah, surpassed all expectations. It was my favorite quarantine album, and I kept coming back to it, non-ironically. Charlie XCX, not someone I would generally go for as an artist, but like there's some really great songs on here that were like, again, like 1975 sounding at some cases. Yeah. Also just pushing her own sound, like the general Charlie sound she's like going forward as well.
Yeah.
Quite good.
This is a fun new award.
Yeah. Let's get through. We can get through these two and this will be good. But yeah, this is a fun new award. We do some fun awards here on Audioface. Sometimes do the serious ones, sometimes do the light ones. And this is the Blink Twice Award. Basically going to any member of a music group or like musical entity that is probably almost certainly in a hostage situation.
Probably definitely held against their will, and when definitely need to be getting paid more.
But they're just like grinning through it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you got Jamie Hewlett of Gorillaz. He is the artist of Gorillaz, makes all of the animations and stuff. And Damon Albarn has him locked up in some cage. He's like, please, some food, dear, please.
So like there's a long story with like the Damon-Jamie dynamic that I'm not going to go into. There's literally 2 documentaries about it at this point, and several books. But like there's Damon Albarn's making music at such a pace, and Jamie Hewlett is doing animation, which is a very complicated thing to do and plan and coordinate. Jamie Hewlett posted at the end of the year like 16 months of hard work on Song Machine, finally done. Get a month off, and then Song Machine Season 2 work starts in late January. And it's just like, David Albarn, please take a break. We were just talking about how Humans, which actually got a lot of Zoomers into Gorillaz, which is amazing to me.
Interesting, I did not know that.
It got them in, and then for a lot of people it was like, oh, they have a special place in Humans because it was like their first Gorillaz album. But they started to like get into the old shit and get into the lore, and they really liked it. But for such a return to form that Song Machine Season 1 is compared to Humans, it's really good to say that Jamie Hewlett got that far. So good on him for the Blink Twice Award. Next is every member of the 1975 who is not Matty Healy. I mean, the song "Guys" is basically like the Matty Healy. I'm sorry for everything.
I'm sorry for everything. Look at the great memories, George. You're my best mate. Matty is slowly turning into Damon Albarn, basically, and the 3 other members are now becoming Jamie, where they're just like Matty's on a tangent, just like going full gas and just changing minds and all this, and just oh my god.
The 1975 are right now are Blur after Park Life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good like comparison.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's absolutely just like, okay, we did the thing you wanted to. We made like the big album. Can we please like sleep?
He's like, no sleep.
And
sleep
then
for the week.
Grimes for being around Elon Musk. And Grimes, she really annoys me.
She
on a lot of things she does.
Music,
but her music's great.
This music is great. Like they named their son after an aeroplane, which is kind of hilarious, and some other shit. And
Elon Musk complains about gender pronouns, but literally named his son after like an attack helicopter.
Like after like a test version of the SR-71. Okay, like all right, bud.
Yeah.
So she definitely is blinking twice. Of like, you know what? I guess I'm stuck with Elon now. Lord help me.
Yeah. At least for the next couple years until she gets like a single wrinkle. Because that's the way the Musk goes. Guillotines. All right. The Blink Twice Award winner, I think. I mean, it's pretty amazing that there's a song in existence that's Maddie Healy going like, okay, I hit the line. Okay.
I think it must be every member of the 1975.
Yeah.
For just like the amount of like touring they've done, all the antics and stuff he's done online, literally, because the thing with 1975, the other band members very rarely like do interviews or talk. It's just Maddie who's doing it all the time. So they literally have to deal with him 24/7. It's just like, all right, chill. As much as I love them and they make good music, the other bandmates do grab some whiskey, please.
Yeah, not great, buddy. Music video of the year. Now, we don't focus a lot on music videos on Audioface because it's mostly an audio-based podcast, but we do like watching music videos. Yep. And while like a couple of artists have definitely raised the bar for music videos, and now a lot of music videos are iterative off of those, there are some artists who continue to stand out. And I think there are 3 this year that we really wanted to focus on. Compensating by Amine, featuring Young Thug. All of Amine's Limbo videos were really great, very vivid. Nice. Amine videos have always been very much subversive. Man, they're fucking around with the idea of a rap video.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was no
being
different.
on the nose.
My favorite being compensating. It's like at the tennis court. They're like yelling about giving black people rights.
Exactly. It's just hilarious.
The lyrics are like, and the metaphors within them are visually like illustrated. It's really nice. Speaking of visually illustrated metaphors,
we have WAP.
WAP, Wet Ass P Word by Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion. And again, one of my favorite bits of trivia about WAP was how Cardi B was going to premiere it with YouTube. And YouTube was
said,
like,
no, please God, no, not allowed.
No, YouTube was like, yeah, sure, but they saw the first version of WAP and they were like, we're going to need the censored one, cuz. We're going to need the censored one, cuz. But yeah, it was just like Willy Wonka. It was like a porno in the Willy Wonka house. It's like chocolate factory. Then there is Yo Perro Sola by Bad Bunny. It was very sort of...
It was a trick, like a mind fuckery of a music video.
Yeah, let's talk about subversion. You would think a lot of the like Bad Bunny sort of video would be like, he's rapping, there's a bunch of girls all around him, but he is the girl.
He is, joke's on you, he's the girl, yeah.
Yeah. He is, I guess, like dressing in drag and in all of these sort of like settings and scenarios.
He's being Latin Cardi B.
Yeah, it's actually like a very sort of funny and interesting sort of thing, especially because of like the macho nature of Latin men and how they behave. Like, that must just been like a shock to the system there.
Like, whoa, we did not expect that. And I definitely did not expect that when I watched that video too.
A lot of angry Latin men talking about how they supported Trump, somehow finding themselves nursing a semi watching that video. Anyways, music video of the year, we are going to have to give it to one of them.
I want to give it to Bad Bunny, actually.
Really?
Yeah, actually. Because it is something that... The other 2 videos are amazing. The thing with Bad Bunny is it's so out of left field that it's something you totally don't expect. It's something that I think is actually underrated a little bit in kind of mainstream stuff. And it like surprised me and it made me intrigued into a video. I saw it a few months ago and it had the same feeling.
That's fair. I think that you see, WAP was just like a game changer.
It's hilarious.
WAP was a game changer.
It's hilarious.
Like, even Body has kind of become like the new WAP right now. Yeah. Body's just like WAP 2.
Yeah, but WAP is the original, like,
There's some whores in this house.
Yes.
There's some whores in this house.
I mean, actually, I think wasn't there a Lil Wayne track before that had whores in this house, I think?
I mean, no. There's many.
With the
there have been many raunchy rap music videos, but one that highlights and like puts very much in forward like women and like their sexuality and feeling empowered in that sexuality, especially in a genre that's so like blatantly misogynistic about like men's sexuality and their preferences.
Look at the fucking Tory Lanez shit with Meg Thee Stallion, but
like basically the key thing with both of our picks is basically like fuck misogyny.
Fuck misogyny, exactly. Yeah.
But you want to double up on here?
You can double up, 100% double up.
So we're gonna tie this with WAP and Yo Perrero Sola by Bad Bunny.
Yep.
So, best rock album. Rock is not dead.
Not dead.
Not dead.
Not dead.
Indie
got resuscitated.
Indie is a little more fun, I'll be honest. But rock is starting to be a little bit more interesting again.
You have some older artists making fantastic works. You have some brand new artists making amazing works. You've got like a little bit of different sounds. You have some experimentation. There's a lot of rock this year that really made me look forward to this genre and stuff. And we had a Rock is Dead conversation a few years ago. And some of the stuff I said that needs to change is more our older bands need to have more experimentation. And also more underground indie bands need to get pushed up more and shown the light of how good their work is too. So, which has definitely been done. Nominations, we have The New Abnormal by The Strokes. Really, really good. I love the adults are talking on that. Yeah, actually, it's a good music video too. There's a lot in that song that's fantastic. The whole album as a whole, I'm not a huge Strokes fan. Never have been the big Strokes fan, but it might be my favorite album they have made, honestly.
Yeah, it's my favorite Strokes album by far. Eternal Summer is like one of a very like quarantine perfect kind of song. Yeah. But also just like a beautiful piece of music.
And they've done like there's so many different sounds that they put into them. Julian Casablancas' voice is really good in it as well. There's a lot that is fantastic with it. You have The Universal Want by Doves. Doves are a band that have been along for a long time and made one of my absolute favorite rock albums ever in the early 2000s. And The Universal Want is album that came out, or like their album that came out before that was about 10 years before, or actually a little bit more than 10 years. And this is a fantastic album, top to bottom. You have Carousels, which they released as a single, and it's a tiny bit longer with more of an intro into their album. And it's very, very good. You have Cathedrals of the Mind, that's fantastic. And it has two of the best album enders, especially for a rock album that I've enjoyed in a very long time. Universal Want and Forest House. Perfect ending. It slows it down. There's a lot of acoustic stuff into it, and there's actually a little bit of electronic of them experimenting and stuff. And as a band that's been around for that long, they did not do the Uncle Rocky thing and made a fantastic album. Then next one you have Black Foxes, self-titled Black Foxes. It's a artist that you recommended and put into our listening and stuff. Randomly. And it has a band that is new and is pretty low-key and stuff. It's just a really good rock album. Top to bottom. There's so many different sounds in there. It starts off like with I Am, Badlands that are just like heavy in your face, good, true and true rock. You have more of the middle stuff. My Skin Is Panic that's like kind of slows down. I even like mentioned it, like there's a couple of parts that sound like old Coldplay that I really like, even though they responded to our Twitter post and like the bassist is gonna hate that, but thank you for reviewing it. And I'm like, sorry, but like that's my comparison, but that's not a bad comparison in my mind because it's good stuff.
You even said in that podcast, this is gonna sound bad, and I don't mean it that way, but it sounds like old Coldplay, and it sounds like in a good way.
And they did that. You have Heaven to a Tortured Mind by Yves Tumor.
By far the most interesting thing to happen to like rock music this year.
And this is a thing that I said in our Rock is Dead conversation. You need to have more experimentation. You need to have these more underground avant-garde artists that are there to get pushed into the mainstream. And Heaven to a Tortured Mind is an album that has been pushed up now and is on so many people's lists, and something I recommended and have listened to ad nauseum this year. Has one of my favorite rock songs, Kerosene. Beautiful rock ballad between male voice, a female voice, going back and forth. Beautiful guitar, solo in the middle. Something that's like everything I want in a rock sound, but it's new and fresh. You have Medicine Burn, Gospel for a New Century at the beginning. There's
Strawberry Privilege, Superstars, Asteroid Blues. There's so much in there that's really good.
They've made like a ridiculously good album. It's so they've done a lot of different work, and a lot of it is quite experimental and stuff. But this is the way to push rock forward.
Yeah. It was. I mean, like there's certain parts of it where I felt like it was didn't land perfectly with its sound because it's always like pushing out there.
Yeah, naturally.
But for what it was doing, it was very, very cohesive.
Yes.
And then you have Ohms by Deftones, another one of those albums that like, again, could have gone either way with how we liked it, but had a really nice sort of like harder rock sound to it more broadly and gave us some really nice surprises. I remember definitely liking Pompeji.
It's a rock album and it's very good. I liked it because it's top to bottom. It's like that. There's no like super experimentating with it, but it's something that if you want to put a rock album in 2020, this is what you would put into it.
Yeah.
So very good. So the genre isn't dead. There is a lot there. You just have to search for it, people.
Yes. And if it's hard for you to search for it because there is so much music out there, then maybe you should just, find a podcast where for an hour a week you can get information on the latest music news and music culture that mostly matters.
Exactly.
On Audioface. Those are the rock albums. Ohms by Deftones, Heaven to a Tortured Mind by Yves Tumor, Black Fox's self-titled, The Universal Want by Doves, and The New Abnormal by The Strokes.
Yes. Who do you want to go with?
Heaven to a Tortured Mind by Yves
Good man, because there's only one right answer.
Yeah, there's that, it's like good efforts by everyone.
This is an album of the year contender in my mind of just... It's something that is so unique, but is still a true rock because you have like at the beginning of the album, there's two, Medicine Bear and Identity Trade. Like those are rock songs, but they're so different. It's the only, like, it's unique and just beautiful.
There were two albums this year that I felt like were the best, like, carrying the torch of rock as a genre. And that's Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple and this, Yves Tumor's Heaven to a Tortured Mind. They both took it in very different directions.
Very different directions.
But
polar opposite directions.
Like, hands down, it is the like bare bones construction of rock music taken to its unique way in all these different like nice cultures. Like here, it's like all across on the gender spectrum over here, and then like with Fiona Apple and Fetch the Bolt Cutters, it's this very like strong like women empowerment in that sort of sense. And really standing up for yourself, which you get in both of these albums. It's one of the best things when you have all these genres come together. Goddamn beautiful. But yeah, Heaven to a Tortured Mind by Yves Tumor. Great.
Ridiculous.
The Audienceface Award.
Hey,
this is one of my favorite
y'all.
ones. Yes, for the real ones, the organics, the ones who have grown Audioface to having over 100 subscribers now on YouTube. Many downloads on... the podcast. I think we've had like more downloads this year. Like we've had more downloads this year than all the other years combined.
Wow, okay.
So we's growing and we's growing quick. Which is really nice, and because y'all have been doing great things. Like sharing the podcast out in all the places, rating us 5 stars, helping us get whatever boost in the algorithm we can. And so we listen to you with the albums, and like a lot of times like we listen to you and you disagree with us and we double down.
Yeah, just
but a lot of times we like go back and think about what we're talking about. And it's a really great process. And one of those things I really like is we can do this end of year Audienceface Award. It's an open poll. The only rule is it has to have come out in 2020 or late 2019.
And then one of the audience members has to have recommended it to us or like pushed for it and stuff. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
So we got a lot of submissions. These are kind of the top ones that I felt were most relevant to things that we talked about on the podcast, and then just like got the most votes. And then this is not really one we'll deliberate on too much because I know the answer because of who won a lot of votes, and it was not close.
Yes.
But the nominees are Dreamland by Glass Animals, which is a really nice album I enjoyed. If I had any sort of complaint with it was that it was kind of the Sufjan Stevens of too much of itself.
It was too much to me. There was a lot of it I liked, but there's a lot where I'm like, take about 30% off there, square they down.
Yeah. Renaissance by Apache, which was really interesting to me. It was an electronic album that I wish I spent a little bit more time with, but it felt like it had orchestral pieces while also being like something you could definitely play at an EDM festival.
Yeah.
Really broad of what you could do there. And I love that we have an audience that has stuff like that to point out to us. I'm definitely going to listen to it more because as I was listening to it for Court Pack and for the Audienceface Awards, even like, I can't vote in the Audienceface Awards naturally, but even like considering it, it's like, this is a really dope album. Run the Jewels 4 by Run the Jewels. We talked about it as in the Tammy bonus episode, but it was just Run the Jewels had already been about so many of the things they're about with progressive politics and social justice and racial justice. And then the album happened to drop when the world was talking about that.
And it's ridiculously good rap album. Just is one of my favorite songs of the year.
Yeah, not only is it the thing that Run the Jewels have been doing.
Dancing on your dollar.
From Pharrell Williams.
From Pharrell.
But not only was Run the Jewels for because it's the same thing Run the Jewels have been talking about over and over and over again. But arguably it's one of the best versions of the 4 that they've done this on. So it's very good. What Can Possibly Go Wrong by Dominic Fike, also a very nice choice there by one of our artists, or one of our viewers. It is, I remember it being kind of softer than most things, but it has this beauty to it and its cohesion with being soft of that nature. That's the song, Politics and Violence, that's just sort of random. It almost reminds me of a Beck folky kind of thing, but feels a little more of a classical rock. And by classical rock, I mean sort of aughts, 10s rock song. So kind of nice there. Folklore by Taylor Swift, surprising a lot of enjoyment there. But Taylor Swift surprised a lot of people this year by releasing an album that was less whiny than her previous albums and was really about the instrumentation and getting that right.
And going more into indie route from her more pop stuff, experimenting different sounds, stripping back a lot of stuff that we genuinely both actually liked for a Taylor Swift album.
I thought it was very good. For a Taylor Swift, one of the albums I liked more over the years. And then Man on the Moon 3 by Kid Cudi, which was, just a true return to form, really great rap album, stuff we wanted from Kid Cudi for a very long time. Yes. And we were glad he delivered on that. I didn't tell you the answer, but do you know which one won?
Actually, I do not know which one won.
Would you like to guess?
I guessing is Run the Jewels.
Yes.
Yeah, I figured it'd be Run the Jewels.
Yes.
Because I know so many audience members I see that follow us and stuff, but are posting about it and stuff, and it deserves it. It's a very, very, very good rap album and album of the year contender for sure.
Absolutely.
And now moving on to Big Chungus itself, we have the DJ Khaled Noted Little Bitch Award.
The Khaled Muhammad Khaled Noted Little Bitch Award. Every single year.
I don't eat out my wife because I'm a bitch award.
I'm going to complain about Billboard because my album that was a piece of shit didn't get rated as album of the year because Igor won. Because it's just an objectively better album.
I got booed off stage at EDC Bitch Award.
That was Drake. More on that next year. But, because it wasn't...
I thought it was DJ Khaled, didn't he? At EDC.
Drake got booed off the stage at EDC.
I swear it was DJ Khaled, or am I tripping balls?
Nevertheless, we have a lot of nominees this year.
There's a lot of stuff.
Let's go bottom up again. Daniel Ek was nominated because we used to have an award called the Gilded Guillotine for being too rich for your own good. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek said this year that if artists want to make more money on the platform, they should just make more music. Instead of artists getting paid thousands of a penny per stream.
Wow, he's sitting on millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue and stuff, so go fuck off, Daniel Ek.
Actually, I'm going to jump around a little bit so we can get the technicalities out of the way.
That's fine.
We have Maddie Healy for quitting Twitter after using George Floyd to reference the Love It If We Made It.
So that's just a technicality because the Noted Little Bitch Award wasn't made for white guys who quit Twitter that got bullied on Twitter, who are pretty famous white guys,
White guys who have it easy on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. You got Ed Sheeran in there. You got former Noted Little Bitch winner Win Butler, the OG Noted Little Bitch. So
Justin Bieber has been
nominated. So it's it's one of those where technically I have to nominate you, Maddie, even though I think you're in the right in this, but whatever.
Yes.
It's still a bitch move.
Then there's Cardi B for undivorcing Offset. Now we are very uncomfortable nominating the DJ Khaled Noted Little Bitch Award and giving it to Cardi B being a female, but
you can't undivorce Offset and not be nominated.
She literally sent the papers and to divorce this dumbass.
And this dumbass deserves a divorce and did this whole all these things of I want you back, this and that. He cheated on her, did all this crap, and was so petty about it, and then brings him back. And is oh, I forgive him, all this shit.
Offset is nothing without Cardi B.
Deadass.
And now we get into the meat and potatoes. we've got Offset, a returning champion.
Repeat offender.
Repeat offender for the Noted Little Bitch. Returning champion, actually, for being a baby about getting dumped by Cardi B.
This would have been so much better if Cardi had just like stick to her guns and then just to watch him cry that little bit more and then to actually get divorced, because he was doing this so she posted a photo of her like with all her bags and Offset's like, I bought most of those. And like, dog, shut the fuck up. You're being such a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, and there's all these videos of like Offset tail between his legs, holding up the camera for Cardi B when she's doing Instagram lives and shit. But that's just pathetic. Lil Pump for endorsing Donald Trump but not registering to vote, like so he could therefore vote for Donald Trump.
Exactly. You can't chill out your own people and like also be called Lil Pimp because the dude barely knows you. Be a simp for Donald Trump and not register to vote or do any of that jazz. Like, come on, dude.
Lil Pump also a repeat offender for the DJ Khaled Noted Little Bitch Award. We have 6ix9ine, another repeat offender for the Noted Little Bitch Award, for passing out CDs of his album that no one wanted.
Extreme desperation hockey there. Yeah, that is wondrous.
It's so bad.
That's like that's getting swept in the Stanley Cup final and you're down 6-2 and you like send out 6 skaters.
It's another thing that I listened to the Audioface Awards last year, and we basically said what was very obvious at the time, that 6ix9ine's career is over. He snitched and he's always going to be known for snitching.
Exactly,
so,
and that's killed his brand, and it has.
Yeah, no one's falling for like the troll shit anymore.
Nope.
It's pathetic. It's funny to watch, but there's that. You have
Tory
Lanez for releasing an entire album about shooting Meg Thee Stallion in the foot and then denying it. Exactly. So you can't brag about something, then deny it, and then like take 2 steps back, 1 step forward down a hole, and then go on all about then like complain about her, saying, oh, she's doing this to try and make more album sales, doing this to try to push up her image. You shot her in the foot. It's so... We've gone over this so many times.
Yeah,
I don't want to rehash it entirely, but the lengths that Meg Thee Stallion supposedly went to protect Tory Lanez.
Deadass.
And then you're getting all of this. It's just Noted Little Bitch shit. And then there's J. Cole, another repeat offender. Jermaine Cole. Another repeat offender for releasing a diss track against No Name, pretending it wasn't about her, amending it was about her, and then getting ethered in a response track. Because
so there's this thing that happened when I got nominated for Another Bitch 2 years ago with him going on Lil Pump style of trap music and SoundCloud rap and saying how it's all bullshit and stuff, and then taking that and like sitting down with him and be like, no, it's actually not that bad, and be like, you're just released a whole album about it. You can't take away an entire album. That was a good album. So repeat offender.
Yeah, and this time you're doing the same thing. We're like, oh, well, No Name and her opinions, like, she's talking all this stuff about, like, black men and what they need to do while black men are being shot. And it's like, well, it's called Black Lives Matter, not Black Men Lives Matter. And there are black women who are being shot and black trans people being shot. Really? You're talking about My Tone when Breonna Taylor's, like, killers
like, of all times now, like, you're really gonna, are you gonna do that now? Okay.
Hello? Madlib? Yeah, I'll hold. Fucking No Name tore 3 new holes into J. Cole.
And No Name destroyed that ass, man. Like, damn.
So that's the DJ Khaled Noted Little Bitch. Matty Healy, J. Cole, Tory Lanez, 6ix9ine, Lil Pump, Offset, Cardi B, and Daniel Ek.
It's a beautiful list.
We have to come up with a winner for this because the winner is affixed to the award and all of its mentions in the year 2021.
Oh, God. And this has to be this has to be a joint decision is the issue too.
Yeah. I can narrow it down.
Yes. Obviously not Matty Healy because
they're technicalities.
Technicality, exactly.
Obviously not Matty Healy. Obviously not Cardi B. And unfortunately Cardi B cancels out Offset.
Exactly. Which makes me really sad because the Offset No Little Bitch Award ×2 would be great. Because then I'd use his government name as the Noted Little Bitch.
The best thing that could happen to 6ix9ine is for us to give him any more attention, and so let's not do that. Which leads us to J. Cole, Tory Lanez, and Daniel Ek. Now, all of these are 3 very good choices because we will probably be talking about them a lot next year. They're all 3 of them likely to continue doing really bitchy shit. Tory Lanez just been like acting a goddamn fool this entire year. It's pretty.
It's really bad. J. Cole just got his ass torn up and just basically then kind of hit away. Tory Lanez to me just keeps like digging himself into a further and further and further of a hole and making it worse.
J. Cole's the young. How many times we gotta teach you this lesson, old man?
Exactly. So, but we know he's gonna do some shit next year too.
Yeah. So we've all gotta like watch out for that there.
Yes.
What's your vibe? What's the vibe?
I'm thinking Tory Lanez.
I think Tory Lanez is really good on there. Let's test drive this though.
All right, what you want?
The Daniel Ek Nutted Little Bitch Award.
Woo, that's good too. Shit.
Because I also have a similar thing with Tory Lanez. Is like his career is going down the toilet. He's trying so hard. He even like donated to the GoFundMe of this pregnant woman who was popping off on Twitter about how Tory Lanez is a piece of shit because he's that desperate to be liked by black women again.
Which is some simp bitch shit. So.
Yeah, like this is like, it's funny how, it's like that old tweet. Bruh, how you a millionaire and still ain't got no hoes though? It's like Tory Lanez, how are you simping for, like, okay. Like, I shouldn't go any further, but the Tory Lanez Nutted Little Bitch Award. Let's one last time think about the government. Daystar Shemuel Shua Peterson Node So the Daystar Shua Peterson Node Little Bitch Award.
The Daystar Node Little Bitch Award.
No, the Daystar Peterson Node Little Bitch Award.
The Daystar Peterson Node Little Bitch Award.
I mean, considering he has that upcoming court case, we might be much more familiar with his government soon.
Oh shit! I forgot about. Yeah, that's right.
Ladies, gentlemen, and gender non-conforming individuals, I think we might have found the winners of the 4th annual Audioface Award. It is Daystar Tory Lanez Peterson.
Oh, man.
Therefore, this is now the Daystar Peterson Notable Award.
I love it. I love it. Because the man, like, Daniel Ek is a bitch. Like, we've established that. J. Cole will continue doing this pattern all the time because how many times I gotta teach you this, old man? But Tory Lanez is the epitome of a 2020 little bitch. Like...
Bruh, how are you gonna name your kid after a minivan? I know I'm thinking about the Ford Windstar.
Yeah.
Which is a successor to the original Predator vehicle, the Ford Aerostar.
The Ford Aerostar. That's the OG, like, Chris Hansen coming out on there.
Wasn't Unsafe at Any Speed written about the Ford Aerostar? That was definitely doing Ford's like lemon track when they were just pumping out like the shittiest cars.
Just shittiest cars, and that's when they came out with Fix or Repair Daily, and it was just like horrible.
Ford giving early or late '80s Kia a run for their money.
That was giving Saturn a run for its money.
Saturn. No, what is it? Oldsmobile.
Oh, Requiesca Apache.
Okay, best rap album. This is a really interesting year for rap music, rap and trap. We're still one of the few shows that separates those out.
They definitely need to be separated.
Best rap albums, we have Run the Jewels 4 by Run the Jewels. We have Heavy as the Head by Stormzy. Came out a little bit later last year, but qualified for this year's Audioface Awards. Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen by Kid Cudi. And Detroit 2 by Big Sean. Rap was very interesting this year.
So a lot of these albums kind of combined elements of rap, elements of trap, hip-hop and stuff, and had such a wide variety that we couldn't just put them in the trap category because it wasn't just straight trap the whole time. So like an example, RTJ4 was just so many different sounds in there. You had a lot of different featured acts. You had like brilliant music by them. It was just amazing from the Jewels. Still go hard every time. Like the amount of bars that are in every single track in the album is insane.
Back at it like a crack addict, Mr. Black Magic.
It's like that is the opening of the album. It just like flies at you right there. And he's like, yeah.
It doesn't really stop.
It doesn't.
Heavy as the Head combines what you get with a lot of rappers at a certain point, which is like a little bit of a heady sort of reflection on their past. Sometimes you get some deeper R&B tracks. Sometimes you get some like really popping rap bangers. And Stormzy really delivers.
And Stormzy is my favorite of the English rappers because there's a lot of English rappers I don't like because I think they are like a little too vocal. Like their accents comes out a little too much. But Stormzy's I do enjoy a lot. Granted, this album did come out the very end of last year, but within our window timeline. And Vossi Bop goes hard. I love that. He's like, fuck that. I don't dab. Me and my brother just Vossi Bop. We just sit there. And the drum effect, loop effect on that song is something I still haven't heard anyone else make, and it is very good. And the album top to bottom is still fantastic.
Man on the Moon 3 was another. It wasn't court packing, but it came that last week of 2020 that we were reviewing albums.
And that bottom half of the album is just amazing.
Top half is passable. Like, it makes up for the fact that the album's very bottom heavy, and like you can do some stuff with the beginning.
Yeah, naturally.
But, like, the beginning is Kid Cudi with through most of the tens, where he's sort of like disjointed and figuring out what he is. The end is where you get the distillation of the best that he has to offer with Phoebe Bridgers, Solo Dolo Part 3, which has definitely changed because it used to be like Mr. Solo Dolo or something.
Yeah.
Rockstar Nights with Trippie Redd, even making Trippie Redd passable,
which
was
is
a feat in its own. For the Kids, Lord I Know, some of the best like rap enders of the game of this year. And yeah, we have to say like Kid Cudi packed a lot of really depressing bars, a lot of really like heady emotional things into these like also really amazing bangers, the way that Kid Cudi does really well. So good on him for that. And Detroit 2 by Big Sean, very similar thing where you are packing some of your best bars of your career into some very, you're proclaiming a lot of things in these.
I love the opening of it. I really like Why Do I Stop? I think it's that is a really, really good opening for a rap album. And top to bottom, I actually enjoyed Detroit 2 a lot. I think there's a lot of things that Big Sean did in his album. All the features and stuff went together, and there was a lot of good sounds in it. So overall, very good album.
I surprisingly liked Wolves with Post Malone.
Post Malone, right?
Quite a bit in there, you had a lot of nice things. You got Hit Boy and Young Thug with Respecty! And it was just like a really nice selection of rap, a little bit from the old head side of things, but keeping it fresh enough to be new. There were a lot of things where like, this is a little bit, because there were a lot of trap albums this year that dug into rap, but I think were more trap focused. Those will be in the next category. But as for best rap album, I think we've set the stage well enough. What are we going with here?
Rolling Jewels, RTJ4.
Rolling Jewels 4? Yeah. I think that's good. I think it's short enough, and while I don't think every song on the album was like perfect on there, like there's some filler on there.
Exactly.
It was a shorter Run the Jewels album of like ones they've made, and because that you had it distilled to its most like action-packed, hardest hitting.
It is my favorite. It is my favorite Run the Jewels album, and to me, if you want to get into their discography and stuff, I think that actually is a good place to start and get into it because it is short. It is every song in there is quite good. There is a tiny bit of filler or like little things that like are a bit experimentation because that's what they do and stuff that might not necessarily fit in or anything. But overall, I like it a lot.
If I'm looking very like quickly here, there's 11 songs, and I'd say like maybe 2 songs on them might be filler-ish, and so like
the rest are just bangers.
Like 2 out of 11 like is a thing that sticks out there, so it's like something that's noticeable. But yeah, like you said, it's otherwise very good.
Moving on to best trap album, we have Eternal Take by Lil Uzi Vert. We have Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon by Pop Smoke, rest in peace. We have Savage Mode 2 by 21 Savage and Metro Boomin. And we have So Help Me God by 2 Chainz.
Yeah, I'm just going to shoot around here. Eternal Take kind of seemed like the front runner out of the gates from this year.
Yeah.
It was Lil Uzi Vert's kind of both most pared back and most crazy project, going really full into the space trap kind of vibe.
And it is something that took me a while to get into, and it's something that I've learned to appreciate more with now that Gunna's released some music and other stuff that's come out, and I realize, wait, this is actually good trap because the rest of it is hot garbage.
Yeah.
So now it makes me understand it a bit more and has broadened my horizons a bit to it. But Pluto and Baby Pluto is fucking terrible. So
yeah. Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon with Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke had a very particular sound. Pop had a particular sound that was let's say done to death in this album, but it was a really good like grimy New York East Coast kind of vibe with it, and all the songs really worked well. So much so that anytime you had a Pop Smoke feature this year, it basically sounded like it could have come straight off of this album.
Yeah, 100%. And I did enjoy it too.
Yeah, I really like the song Snitching with Quavo and Future.
Quavo, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a total shot at 6ix9ine, but it's just like a general like state of the game kind of thing.
And then you have Savage Mode 2 with 21 Savage and Metro Boomin.
Featuring Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman narrating the whole album. and it's top to bottom. It is like
all enemies should be eliminated.
But a rat is a
just
motherfucking
rat.
Is a motherfucking rat. I'm like, god damn. Even like Mr. Right Now with Drake, with Almost a Little Bitch last year, Drake, that I don't normally like his music, or even as him as a Future, is an amazing trap song. It's the production of Metro Boomin is unreal. Sweetest taboo, you are in rare form.
Snitches and Rats, I think, was an understated song on there. Definitely could have shown a little bit more. But Stepping on Niggas, Brand New Draco, No I'm Left Behind.
Running.
Bangers.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just good.
Yeah.
I can't even say any more about it. Yeah. And you have So Help Me God by 2 Chainz.
Yeah. The production on this held its own really nicely, and I think was a really great bridge between the old school and the new school really nicely. There were times of it, like Gray Area, for example, which felt like it could have gone on Detroit too. But then you had trap songs like Free Lighter with Uzi Vert and Chief Keef, which is like such a like actual like holding the hand to the new school as opposed to the J. Cole, oh fuck you, JK, actually like I'm gonna sit down with you kind of deal. It's like, hey, you come on this, I actually like Uzi Vert and Chief Keef lyrically when they do it, so I'm gonna bring them on this track and I'm gonna kill it, and they did. You even have Youngboy NBA who was on there. Lil Wayne was kind of underperforming on there compared to everyone else you had. And I almost even liked Feel Away with Kanye West and Brent Faiyaz on here. Really good all around. Wasn't expecting to really like it so much, but I definitely did. Best trap album of this year. I know very much what you're going to pick. It's more just a matter of if I agree with it or not. And yeah, I know, because I know you're probably going to go Savage Mode 2.
100%.
I am going to lobby for Eternal Take to at least tie it.
Savage Mode 2 has, because the problem with Eternal Take is there's a lot in that album that I feel like a lot of it is filler compared to where Savage Mode 2, there's almost no filler. Maybe one song is filler.
So the album version of Eternal Take, I think, is, for a trap album, pretty filler-less. Like, I think all the songs on there have a pretty good reasoning to be on there. Like, Silly Watch has its own sort of, like, fun style to it. Homecoming, I'm Sorry, Celebration Station go well together. Prices is very fun. We've proven that out. Yeah. P2 is kind of like a nice sort of throwback to EXO Tour Life. Futsal Shuffle is kind of amazing. But then you get to the deluxe version, which gave us like Yes Sirski and like all these others here. I don't love the deluxe version thing of that, but like Strawberry Peels.
The songs I like more are on the deluxe version compared to the normal version.
Interesting.
That's the thing with me too, was when I got more into it and I listened to it more, especially on the deluxe version, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of get into it a little bit more. So that's the issue.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, I don't think as a deluxe version it should need to do that.
No.
But I think there are more songs off of Eternal Take that I liked more than Savage Mode 2. So I'm willing to give it a tie. I'm willing to give it a tie.
Holy hell, you got you got Brand New Draker, you got Snitches and Rats, you got Many Men.
I might like some of the songs on Savage Mode 2 more, but Eternal Take, as bloated as it is, gave me more to offer this year.
Interesting.
So like, again, you're going to go to Savage Mode 2. Yeah. I'm going to hold my heels on Eternal Take. This is a tie.
All right.
And I think it's a really good tie. I think Lil Uzi Vert lyrically and with his production going into a more electronic focused thing is at the top of his game. Meanwhile, 21 Savage and Metro Boomin holding down the streets, but respectively on their own have gone into other genres in their own light and shown that they can really kind of grow out and branch out. 2 Chainz, really good record. It came out later in this year, and I really was bumping it a lot. And Rip Pop Smoke. Shit was great. Woo Wednesday, celebrating that shit.
Moving on, we have the best bars.
Yeah, just best lyrical go-offs of the year. There were quite a lot, but we narrowed it down to at least our favorite and our dudes' opinions. There's Walking in the Snow from Run the Jewels, Killer Mike's lyric, and every day on the evening news, they feed you fear for free. And You So Numb, you watch the cops choke out a man like me until my voice goes from a shriek to whisper, I can't breathe. And you sit there in the house on couch and watch it on TV. The most you give is a Twitter rant and call it a tragedy. But truly the travesty, you've been robbed of your empathy. Bars from Killer Mike.
Bars.
My Dog from 21 Savage. Sean, would you like to read it? I'll go, nigga keep talking about that UK shit like I don't got AKs. Like, cause I was born overseas, these motherfuckers ain't going spray.
It's my favorite thing where he's just going off about, he's like, yeah, so I grew up in England. Do you think I don't got an AK? I'll put a Draco in your ass right now.
Yeah, because 21 Savage had the whole like citizenship issue.
Exactly, exactly, and America nearly kicked him out.
And people like to play around like, oh, 21 Savage, like, hello, governor, tea and crumpets kind of shit. Like, now you clap your ass.
And he's like, shut the fuck up, put a Draco in your ass. Exactly.
There's that one lyric, don't be thinking that a nigga is slipping cause I rap now or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Gray Area by 2 Chainz. There's I just sat up on the stand, told a lie straight to your honor. Old enough to be your daddy, young enough to fuck your mama. All the shit that I have done, cannot believe in karma. Old enough to be your daddy, young enough to fuck your mama. Young enough to fuck your sister, young enough to fuck your auntie. I ain't messing with your granny. I just juked her out them Xannies. I'm a beast, I'm a dog. Y'all don't motherfucking at it. Nigga, tell him, pull him up, drop the motherfucking addy.
That line was just hilarious. Gray Area is a
that
funny
combined with
song.
the like off kilter backdrop of the song is
like the off kilter flute is hilarious.
Yeah. And then there's Opium from Earth Gang and Gorillaz, what is a vibe on its own. But the beginning Earth Gang lyric, I've been cooped up for a minute, I've been inside working on me, hyperbolic chamber I sit, gonna dance my way out of this. Winter lasted for ages, trouble don't last always, brand new life, turn the page, be alright, be okay.
And that's like the best way to talk about like being cooped up with quarantine and stuff.
That's the most optimistic spin on 2020, I think you could say.
Is.
Emphasis on winter lasted for ages.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be a really fun song to experience when everyone's got their Bill Gates vaccines. We're using Bing search to find out where to go.
When everybody turns into a crocodile like what Bolsonaro says. Bolsonaro.
Okay, best bars this year. I mean, like, the pick to give it to is Walking in the Snow. That's what everyone wants to do.
But Gray Area is funny as fuck.
Gray Area is funny as fuck.
I like Gray Area. Because it's like, the flow is just like, Jesus. Because I did not expect that from 2 Chainz. Just all that. When I listened to Gray Area, I just sat there like, all right, it's popping off.
Yeah. I'm happy to... Not even sure. Oh, that was your AirPods.
Yeah, it came out of my pocket.
I'm happy to put... Walking in the Snow as a runner-up, because good having to do with social justice, very important killer, Mike. Great job, but like, come on, it's 2 Chainz.
It's funny. All right, moving on. Best alternative album. One of my favorite categories. We got The Slow Rush by Tame Impala, Woman Music Part 3 by Haim, Strange Times by Gorillaz, We Will Always Love You by the Avalanches, and Suddenly by Caribou.
Alternative is our favorite genre collectively, and it's probably one of the more important genres we review on Audioface because alternative just encompasses so much of music that you can only put it in this genre. It's almost like the graduated version of indie.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You graduate from indie and you get to alternative, but... Each of these albums offered something differently. The Avalanches, where they usually do kind of a plunder phonics kind of thing, instead sampled artists live and created just one of the more beautiful concept albums of the year.
Yes. And I love me some concept albums. You all know that.
The Slow Rush by Tame Impala was just one of Tame Impala's just best works with every single song, not a second of filler in the entire project.
Nope. I mean, the intro song of One More Year, I literally had that auto chant thing on repeat for months.
Yeah. These days, it's very hard to fill an hour long of an album and make every minute feel like it's spent wisely.
It did not feel like an album. Did not feel like an hour at all.
Yeah. On Track, Tomorrow's Dust, Everything. Posthumous Forgiveness, wow.
Man.
Suddenly by Caribou. Let's just go into that. What do you have to say about Caribou?
I mean, so Caribou is an interesting artist because he's like experimented so much before out in the past. And we did do a little bonus episode about him, and he's had so many different music artists and stuff he's worked with, and even different cinemas he's had too with Daphne and stuff. But with Suddenly, I feel like this is his most complete work in a really long time. Where his other albums, like his first album, I feel like it had some stuff, but suddenly you have like Sister, You and I goes hard. That beat, everything is fantastic. You have Home, which was one of my favorite songs of the year too, where that beautiful backing track and stuff. She's going home and home again. Never Come Back. You have Ravi at the end right there, which was a banger. So there's a lot in that album that is just amazing and such a good complete album from him. Then you have
Women in Music Part 3 by Haim, which is sort of this amazing alternative piece altogether. You have just all the women in this thing are just amazing in it. You have so many different sounds and styles within here. Man from the Magazine, I remember, just like a particular hit from it all.
I love Los Angeles, the opening track. I really like it. It was just funny. It's like I moved to New York. I had the first winter. Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool. It's just going on like how they grew up here and how like they like all this stuff and like the good things about a shitty city like Los Angeles, trying to like kind of like open up your eyes about it and say like the good things, the bad things, and the beautiful beat. And they're so on point throughout the album, saying women make fantastic rock music. Like, bow down, bitches.
Yeah. It's bravely acoustic as well, as far as the sound goes, and plays back to those older rock things, not necessarily pushing it so forward with modern things such as like Fetch the Bolt Cutters or Yves Tumor's Having to Tortured Mind. But it's very much rock in its own right, and a true much love to rock kind of form. A la Raconteurs or some of the older Black Keys.
Yeah.
And then you have Strange Times by Gorillaz. I try not to talk about like my favorite bands or like my favorite things this year, but I was very much willing to, or getting ready to, hate Strange Times and the whole Song Machine project. But this is honestly Strange Times season 1, all that whatever, has produced Gorillaz' best songs of the decade.
Since Plastic Beach.
Plastic Beach. Every song on here is leaps and bounds better than Humans of the Now Now, at bare minimum. And that's even saying MLS.
Yeah. Super Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Even songs I originally didn't like or so, it took me a long time to get into. And stuff I didn't think I was going to like, like Pac-Man with Schoolboy Q. I first listened, I'm like, it's whatever. Holy shit, like, I love that song.
Yeah.
I love the beat. That is the quintessential Gorillaz song for me. And Gorillaz are one of the band, or like when I first listened to them growing up as a kid, they are the ones who got me into rap, actually. Because I didn't really listen to it growing up in the early 2000s, and then listening to their first 2 albums got me into it, and now it's like, it's exploring so much, and all of their features go together, which is incredible, because Humans did not.
Humans very much did not. This is the first time the features have gone together again since Plastic Beach.
Yeah, and yeah, shit.
Yeah,
good work.
Production-wise, Désolé is flawless.
Yeah, and Aries is a song that is like everything I love about alternative music in one song right there.
Yeah, all the things like, I said like some of the weaker moments or like the parts where I were let down. Like I wanted Severed Head with Gold Link and Unknown Mortal Orchestra to be a little bit more like poppy and bangy of a song, but it was like fine. And Dead Butterflies eventually won me over, even though I don't like Gorillaz delving in the trap that much. I think like as a one song kind of like experimentation,
let's just see what
it's all right. And they should have made Black volume up a little bit more in the Pink Phantom, because he gets overshadowed too much.
He gets overshadowed. I still don't like Elton John, but that's a personal thing that him and I have. So, I'm not going to hate Gorillaz too much for that. And there's some other stuff in here that like is okay. Like some parts I'm still trying to learn to get used to, but there's songs like Opium that are just, holy shit, I cannot wait for that live.
Yes,
so,
in-person live.
And
Hologram Beck.
Hologram Beck. I will talk about that at some point in the podcast.
Yes.
Holy shit, this might be the hardest alternative album selection I've ever had to choose from. Like, because the Avalanche just shocked me of how good of an album that is. I just wish it was a little bit earlier, so that way I can like saturate it a little bit more. But like, there's so many good stuff on it. I mean, the Slow Rush is awesome too. Like, I don't know what to do. I hate this and love this.
Yeah, this is hard. This is very hard.
What are you going between the two? Which ones are you going between?
I'm not going, like, I can't parse any of the, like, to me, the weakest link is Caribou.
Yeah, Caribou is the weakest link for me.
But
and then the other 4 are literally like almost all on par, and then it becomes personal preference. My 2 personal favorites are the Slow Rush and We Will Always Love You. Those are my 2 favorites, probably.
So like
Gorillaz is like almost dead tied, but
my 2 favorites are Strange Times and the Slow Rush. I think because Slow Rushes are overlapped.
Then Slow Rush is going to get it, and that's fine with me because for an artist that has as much like acclaim and stuff as Tame Impala, there's a couple different ways he can go with it. But he made one of the most beautiful alternative rock things in years and almost a decade, I think, when like it starts off with One More Year, going down to Destiny, Borderline, like damn,
So good.
so good. And people say he's overrated, you're high. And not on the good stuff.
Yeah, not on the good shit. If there's any consolation, the Noodle account on Instagram posted a teaser of the original Gorillaz album inside of Currents from Tame Impala.
Oh yeah, that's
and we
right.
know there's a Song Machine season 2.
Please make it happen.
I mean, I never thought in my entire life I would get Beck and Gorillaz to like be together in a song. We need Muse and Gorillaz, we need Tom York and Gorillaz, but I would also be very happy with Tame Impala.
I want Tame Impala and Gorillaz because that's a lot.
And weirdly enough, because of Song Machine now exists, there's a good chance in 2021 I'd get at least one of those.
Yes, I would hope so.
Yes. Okay, let's bring this to a close. We have the Vince Staples Woke Award, which we might be renaming this year. I don't know. I think it might be.
I think it's time. I think it's time.
Yeah. He's gotten a good mileage out of that.
I think what we could do is like the Not a Little Bitch Award and just start naming it after the artist for that time. I think it's what we could do now.
It's totally fair. This year we have Rihanna, who I was giving just like a countdown donation as to which artists were doing this. She donated $5 million to Corona relief in March.
That's a lot of money.
Before any of the celebrities were doing any of this other stuff, before celebrities were claiming that I found the COVID vaccine because I donated some money here.
Yeah.
Rihanna was like, there are people who
are needing help.
Yeah, who are being failed by our system right now, who need help immediately, so I'm going to jump in for that. Plus $4 million for domestic violence relief.
Which, you know, she's had her own stuff with that, so she understands, right? Like, it's a thing that's close to her heart.
How much has Heartthrob Chris Brown paid to domestic violence relief for this year?
Negative $4 million.
Yes.
He owes $8 million.
No Name for calling out Jay-Z, Oprah, and J. Cole for their silence during the Black Lives Matter, and then providing the quadruple suplex to J. Cole.
God, that was beautiful. That was wondrous.
And Megan Thee Stallion for standing up for black women more broadly, even though she was shot in the foot.
Yeah, pretty much standing her ground against all of the accusations that Tory Lanez are throwing at her, standing up for WAP and all other stuff about her own image and everything. Like
the accusation that she was favoring white media over black media because she wouldn't be on the Breakfast Club. All this other like random stuff.
And she's like, no, I'm not gonna do. Like, I don't want to do.
In addition to being like one of the up and coming artists of the year and releasing 2 like really incredible projects.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is all really good awards here. Shout out Black Woman, you're killing it in the Woke Award category.
Seriously.
But this year, I think it's between 2. Rihanna, we love your money. But I think it's between 2. And
I'm gonna give it a no name myself.
Yeah.
I want to give it a no name.
While Megan Thee Stallion's thing about black women was very important, and I think like probably had a larger sort of consensus in the public.
But No Names
is the hardest left.
She has dropped so many bars. If you go to her Twitter account, it's just like wild.
Her Instagram is just like the modern day Communist Manifesto. Like it's no contest. This is the Woke Award. This has to be like. Again, like we had like woke credits in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2017, like
she like Diver going off last year and a little bit this year about like going off on corporation, bunch of other stuff. No Names of like hold my beer.
Yeah. Actually, I'll give like a last minute nomination to the United Musicians and Allied Workers Union because they've been doing a lot of stuff.
Trying to get musicians, especially with COVID, saying, hey, we need to get people paid. We need to start living off of stuff because we can't do the shows and stuff, and to just unite artists under a single union and a purpose for helping each other.
Yes. So good on them, but this is the No Name Woke Award.
Yeah. I can get on board for that.
Yes.
Then moving on, we have the Hard R Award. My favorite thing I've ever done on this podcast is naming that. The Hard R Award for Bigotry in Music.
Yes, we give these out for, the bigots and music that exists. We have Johnny Rotten for not being very punk and going full MAGA. Literally...
full MAGA.
Like just like reciting Matt Walsh radio show rants on British media. We have Lil Pump for endorsing Trump but not registering to vote. We have Lil Wayne for going balls deep on Blue Lives Matter.
And going balls
Trump in general,
and balls deep on going with Trump saying, look, he's going to help the black people. Great.
Sure. And then we had Kanye for just everything he did in 2020.
There's
2020 vision.
There is too much to say for Kanye for the amount of bigotry he's did this year.
Yeah. And, this was a strong year for Bigotry in a lot of other aspects, not even related to music. We've had some whompers related to music in the past, but I think we've had worse.
For sure.
But this year, I think the right mix of tangible, hurt to the cause and just general stupidity, I'm giving it to Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, 100% Lil Wayne, because he made himself look like a complete total asshole by doing that. And then also, you're wrong, bud.
Yeah, you're wrong. You made yourself look like a tool, and you allowed yourself to be used like a tool for the purposes of Donald Trump's a failed re-election bid.
Exactly. You did all that stuff for re-election bid, didn't work, made yourself look like a pompous asshole with all that, and then the Blue Lives Matter stuff, on the wrong side of that, bud.
Yeah, we get it. A cop helped you when you were down bad back in 2000 whatever, but you just absolutely gotta chill it out. Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Album of the Year.
Fourth annual Audioface Awards Album of the Year.
Arguably the most important award to give, and this year is very, very difficult to pick a winner. Normally,
definitely the most difficult year ever.
In other years as well, there have been standouts. For me, 2018, 1975, that was a standout year for them. You had the horrors exploding up for us in 2017. I mean, there's a lot that just usually one kind of picks out, but these 6 albums are just equally good.
Good in their own ways together, going equally. So we've talked a lot about these albums, and we'll talk a little bit about them more in just a second, but just to get them listed off. We have RTJ4 by Run the Jewels, Limbo by Amine, Energy by Disclosure, After Hours by The Weeknd, The Slow Rush by Tame Impala, and Shore by Fleet Foxes. These have all... Oh, that's a new way to make my computer multitask. These have all gotten rewards and awards and recognition in their own right in earlier parts of this very award show. So we could just go in a random order. Run the Jewels 4. Again, Run the Jewels have been doing the same thing they have always been doing, which is very hard-hitting, in-your-face, electronic, rap music that has to do with, breaking down the system, fuck the government, and all that kind of shit. And it just happens to be the right moment in history when everyone wanted that, and they delivered it in the best way they ever have.
Yes. It's a perfect album for the perfect moment.
Triangulation at its finest.
Exactly.
Limbo by Amine, I think it just has a lot of really nice vibes in there. It does rap pop in the best way I think it's been done in 2020. Really deep pop songs about really deep emotional things that feature just really great artists from around the way. We talk a lot about compensating, but Pressure in My Palms with Slow Tie and Vince Staples. Yeah. That little vocal singing thing at the end is great. Amine has just got talent for years, honestly, and it's great to see.
Really enjoying his work this year. You have Energy by Disclosure.
Yes. And while not quite our favorite electronic album of the year,
as an album as a whole, just on its own, Jesus.
Yeah, as an experience of 2020. I think the only thing that let me down about this album is that 2020 didn't really allow this album to be played in dance clubs.
And also
it didn't really get its life.
Yeah, so that's one thing that kind of was held down a tiny bit, but no fault to its own.
Yeah.
You have After Hours by The Weeknd, which...
snubbed as hell by the Grammys.
Yeah, racist ass Grammys. It's an album that made Dan actually like The Weeknd, which is something that I did not expect.
Yeah.
Going in, both of us were expecting to just be it's gonna be bland and maybe one or two good songs. Starboy 2, exactly. Might be there's 3 good songs on Starboy and the rest is bleh. But this is top to bottom an amazing work from him. It's a compilation of all of his work previous and now moving forward into a completely different version of himself, and something and growing up and maturing as an artist that is great to see from him, as someone who has been a prominent artist for almost a decade now, and has the song of the year for me, Blinding Lights, on it. You have Heartless that Metro Boomin did the production on. That was amazing. You have After Hours Until Bleed Out is some of my favorite album enders. There's a lot on that are just fantastic. Then you have The Slow Rush from Tame Impala. That is, we have that. It was our alternative album of the year, and it's one of his best works that have come up so far. A very unique album in regards to how it's sampled different effects of his own work, and then it just the way the construction is, the drums, the vocal effects, all the other stuff and experimentation he did to make an album be gorgeous. And there is not 1 second of filler on that album at all.
Yeah.
And then to end it off, we have Shore by Fleet Foxes, which is an interesting album for me because I normally do not like folk and stuff. I am a Fleet Foxes fan, but normally I like usually like maybe half an album of theirs and the rest of the album to me is filler. Again, like the Slow Rush, there is no filler on this album. Everything is connected. It is beautiful. And this shows you what talented musicians can do when they are given free realm to do what they want and beautiful voices, harmony, guitar work stuff. There's a lot in here that is gorgeous and fantastic and makes me hopeful for a lot of music going on in the future.
Yeah, it helps you see that music can really take a lot of different forms and take from a lot of different genres and come together in a really beautiful work. Exactly. And repeatedly in a lot of different ways. Because each of these albums represents, even though you can put them in alternative, rock, electronic, rap, whatever, they represent bringing a lot of different ideas from all different aspects of music together in a work to represent what is happening in like late 2019, early 2020. They're all amazing for their own different ways, and we talked about a number of amazing albums that are also amazing in their own different ways that don't quite make it to this list. But here's this list, and here we've got to decide. What's the album of the year?
Fuck. Are you narrowing it down at all? That'll be interesting to see.
Yes.
What are you narrowing it down to?
I'm narrowing it down to Limbo, Energy, and After Hours. So the middle three.
The middle three?
Hi, Nico.
Hello, Nico Cat. I'm limiting it to Energy, After Hours, and Shore. I think those are my 3 personal favorites, and I feel like those are a little bit more complete together than Limbo. That's my only thing. As much as I like Limbo, there is a tiny bit of filler in there and stuff, and some stuff that I think needs to be tipped off a little bit.
Yeah.
The other 3 are like, there's nothing I would touch and change on those 3 albums.
At the end of the day, it's about how it felt to me playing through as an album. Because it's album of the year, not like particular subgenre. And so album-wise, I would go with Energy by Disclosure.
Interesting. I would go... Fuck. I actually have to agree with you. It's close
because
I almost want to give it a tie with. I almost want to give it a tie to After Hours because playing through as an album too. After Hours is almost impeccable as that bridge to pop, neo pop, and all this other stuff. That is a genre that I normally do not like, and there's a lot of crap and saturatedness in it. But from top to bottom is fantastic work, and it pushes it so far forward too. So I kind of want to almost tie it, and or might give the edge to Disclosure. Those are kind of like my opinions.
You know, it's really funny. I was willing to tie it and give it the edge to The Weeknd.
The Weeknd?
But maybe that's just the case that like we should absolutely tie.
You just tie those 2? That's fine with me. Because so here's the other thing with the album. So RTJ4, love it. There is some stuff in there that needs to be topped off for sure. Limbo, same thing. I love it all the way, but there's some stuff that needs to be worked on. Energy After Hours, I talked about. The Slow Rush, I really like, but it feels a little niche type of thing compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
And Shore by Fleet Foxes is incredible in its own way. I feel like it slows down a little too much by the end, but it does end very nicely. I just wish that it changed the order a tiny bit. Would have been how I would have made it like a perfect album. So
my thing with After Hours is, again, as an album, do I start to feel like it overweights its welcome so much to an extent? And The Weeknd kind of bravely here went featureless, right? And I don't know if The Weeknd can fully hold up an album, no features together by himself. It's a lot, and he did a really good job, and there's a lot of emotion and passion in here. And so I think this is the closest thing to that. But there were times on second and third listen where a lot of times I listen to things more and I like them more.
Yeah.
I listen to it more and I go like, okay, Abel. All right, Abel. I sort of get it. Especially you have these like throwaway lines here that are sort of references to like his particular relationships and those things.
Yeah.
It's good to have those things there, but it gets almost like Taylor Swifty in a way, almost a male kind. Again, like maybe this is my old Weeknd as a fuckboy thing coming back here, but it was a thing that it felt hard to escape with me with some of these things. Again, acknowledging the beauty of this. Coming back to Disclosure, again, it's sort of like a potpourri approach where it's a little bit of all these other little things and some combinations here. I didn't like all the combinations, like Commons, for example, but it was at the end, and so I ended up liking it like decently to some extent.
And then there's some stuff in here that is absolutely beautiful too. So
yeah, I don't want to do a tie. I either want to have like one of these is a runner-up.
Yeah, I'll give the runner-up to The Weeknd, and then I'll give Energy the album of the year. I feel like it is because it also pushes electronic music that little bit further, and also Disclosure as a band too, as a duo of moving them up and up, and like not just from like restricting them to just a strictly dance club scene. There's so many other things you can do in here. Like My High, you can put that in like a workout mix and a gym mix and so much other stuff. There's like Ce N'est Pas, there's like you can make that almost into a chill thing. There's so much you can do with that album that's just there's a lot.
There's neo pop in there as well.
Exactly. It's combining all of the best sounds of 2020 into a thing.
It's a smorgasbord of really good music. Although a lot of Energy was produced in 2019. To be fair,
but it was released in 2020, so they get that.
Yes,
that's fair for me. I'm okay with that.
And like again, Weeknd I think cleaned with a lot of other awards.
Exactly, that's my thing as well. So, he was nominated a lot, and he got as much deserved praise. And I'm interested to see what he does in the future. Hopefully he can keep it up.
Yes.
And we already know Disclosure's going to keep it up because they keep doing it. So
yes. But these are the cream of the crop. I genuinely loved all of these albums. So that means there's only one last thing to do before we end this year of Audioface. Chairman Sean, your honorable mentions.
All right. So Jesse Lanza made one of my favorite little niche, interesting albums of all the time. Like you have Lickin' Heaven and Face, which I listened to so much. The album was produced by Jeremy from Junior Boys, which I am still waiting for Junior Boys release. Please, God, project it in my veins. I need it.
It'll come randomly in like 2033.
It will happen one day, but she made a fantastic album. I just couldn't fit it into anywhere in here was the only issue, but I've listened to it a lot. I know Bam has as well. Shout out Bam. After that, you got Earth by EOB, also known as Ed O'Brien. So he is one of the members of Radiohead, and Tom and Johnny have had their plethora of solo albums. Philip Selway had his own solo albums, but this is Ed's first thing, and it shows you of how good of a songwriter Ed is. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like the song Brazil is beautiful. It's long, like about 8.5 minutes long, but there's like 2 parts into the song, and like the second part turns into this gorgeous dance mix with Afrobeat drums, beautiful bass line and stuff, and it shows what he can do by himself as an artist, and it's fantastic. And last but not least is Yunzi, one of my personal favorite artists of all time. He is the frontman of Sigaros, and his first proper solo release in about a decade, and there's so much experimentation and stuff in this album that I enjoy because it is now getting me into a genre that I normally do not like and have not listened to and paid attention to as much as I now will, into that glitch pop era style stuff like Sophie style of electronic music, which I have hyper pop and stuff I haven't listened to at all, but now it makes it into this context. I'm like, wow, I can actually understand it now, and I see, and this is a beautiful album. There's just issue, again, there is so many other works and stuff out more complete, where this is almost purely experimental in that regard, but definitely deserves a shout out. Yonzi is an amazing artist.
Dictator Dan, honorable mentions, as we round out. Heaven or Hell by Don Toliver. I think Don Toliver rides that line between like, of the trap and the best and worst of it, as repetitive as it gets, auto-tuney as it gets, but also having some real depth and thought to the production of the albums. Heaven or Hell, I think, went through really nicely. It could have been like one of those things that just missed the nominations for the award, but for any like awards, but was really close to getting it. It just had a really cohesive structure to the instrumentation of the album. Kind of Travis Scott-ish world where it's a little bit playing with psychedelic aspects of the music, but it is really nice, and I was playing the hell out of Had Enough, Can't Feel My Legs, After Party, Cardigan, Spaceship with Sheck West even grew on me a little bit, but I didn't love that much. But again, it was one of those songs or albums I really liked in the before times of 2020 that I thought was going to like lead me into 2020, and then the whole season changed.
Yes.
Anime, Trauma, and Divorce by Open Mike Eagle. We were able to mention this very briefly on an episode, but we didn't have time to properly review it. I think as an album, there could have been like some more focus there to make it like a really cool thing. But there's just some really nice grooves on here where Open Mike Eagle has almost like this Questlove roots kind of way of putting together a lot of interesting sounds and making it jazzy and groovy and a lo-fi almost you're at a coffee shop when they're performing live kind of way. It's a really like lo-fi chill beat in that way, but it's really pretty. And there's a lot of passion and emotion packed into these lyrics as you would expect from Open Mike Eagle. So it's a really good thing that I liked overall from this year that I came back to. Mainly Death Parade, but I came back to it a lot. From Dark to Light by NLE Choppa, it was one of those things where I was coming in ready to tear it in your asshole.
And it was actually pretty decent, yeah.
Yeah, NLE Choppa's going through his like woo-woo, like growing plants, being a vegan phase right now, and more power to him, I guess. But From Dark to Light was a very like shockingly, surprisingly interesting
actually good album.
Yeah. He's got bars, which I was very surprised by. He's got kind of a flow to himself. It's very fun.
Production was pretty good too.
Doesn't take himself too seriously as well, which you find not enough of in trap music.
Seriously.
Production great as well. And then lastly, Shoot for the Moon, Aim for the Stars by Pop Smoke. We kind of mentioned it for earlier awards, but I think Pop Smoke would have been the artist of the year, like the memeable artist of this year. He could have had like a Gucci Mane track, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was killed in early February, way too soon. Every verse that he did on another song, posthumously, sounded like it was just taken from this album. He had such that sound to it.
Good.
And it sucks because now I've heard it so much, like the raspiness, the kind of really quick, like hi-hat sort of hits with the drums and that kind of thing. I knew he had more to him. I could tell he definitely had more to him, but we only have this sort of imagining of Pop Smoke sound to really go with, and that's really a shame. But I think Pop Smoke really would have had a lot to offer from that cohort. And yeah, we have a lot of that cohort of SoundCloud rappers at that time who were just like biting the dust. And hopefully we are out of the woods with most of that as those are kind of growing up and we're getting some new people there. But that was a year of music that they all provided for us, and it was great. It was one of the more exhausting ones, but the music was very good. It was exhausting because there was a lot of music we had to think about and really consider and nitpick. This was 2.5 hours of nitpicking, essentially.
Basically. And yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, programming notes for Audioface specifically. Customarily, we take our mandated month off.
Our union mandated break.
Yes. I wanted to do some bonus episodes. I'll try to maybe do one best of episode during the break in between. But we come back in... I would have been able to tell you the date if I planned a little bit better, but we'll be coming back in mid to late January. Covering apparently Playboi Carti's new album. But a bunch of other things that'll be coming on between this like sort of gap. Usually January, February, March, we kind of get into a good cycle of things with what happened before when we were off and then what's coming out then. Yeah. We got some really fun conversations like our State of Music 2021 and all those other fun things happening. Next year, I already know this, we're going to get some really dope guests. I've got some down like the pipeline that'll be coming next year who will be on for that. So we'll be able to kind of get an insight into the music world as it is and provide that more for our audience. Hopefully bring some bands on that we don't have to make YouTube videos about later. And hopefully, we just continue growing this podcast and making it a cool thing. Like we said, it grew more this year than it has in the previous 3 years combined. So that means we're doing something right. And next year, we will be kind of starting our 5th year of things in a lot of ways, which will be wild. Which is crazy. If you want more of me and Sean, there's Power Report, which we will be continuing through the next coming months. Or next weeks or so, I can do outros. What does it mean to play us out? Make sure you go to powerreport.world for all of those things. Follow me on Twitter at DanFromTheWeb or on Twitch at twitch.tv/DanFromTheWeb. I'm on Instagram at DanFromTheInternet, at YouTube at youtube.com/DanFromTheInternet. You are on Twitter and Instagram at SW Suarez. The show can be found on Twitter and Instagram at AudiofacePod. youtube.audioface.show. Might be getting a new URL for that soon. And, check out my show premiering on Fridays in 2021. Thank Dan, it's Friday. It's a Twitch stream, the week's news, and a little bit of music stuff too. We'll also be there. We're doing a couple episodes in 2020, but most people will probably listen to this in 2021. So, every Friday in 2021, twitch.tv/sourcestream. check that out. Should be a blast. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for being organic, listening to the podcast this entire run through. We've got a bunch of great episodes coming your way.
Yep.
Next year we're gonna hit 200 episodes. Jesus Christ!
Woo, baby!
So,
and at least we don't have to do best of the 10s this time. So 50 of the 10s this year. So
yeah, that's at least 10 years down the road. Thank you very much for listening, Sean. Thank you very much for doing this another year with me. And we bid you all. Hopefully you forget this year.
I'm gonna nominate myself for the Blink Twice Award next year.
2021 ahoy. Cheers.
Bye.